So be joining ye na ye the discussion segment no the atwa so me sure say issues no be brain na akeka bom sa but ye be make sure say the say fantasy ye di ho nkomo no enkosi say no ndu ebebo de na ya yere ye ho now we've done justice to it innocent bako de
yeah me adom
and aso ya wada biom ya say shia ye be shia na ye ko weekend nti every weekend na dey ba no na say long week
ye ma be brain so o
and enya asem ketwa ti esa wo se ye kasa wa e je se ye ka week ni nyina ne ma asisi no ne de abom na afi ye timi aye proper discussions on it but and de di kan no asa e be wuramu ankasa ne the president encounter with the media and na e be sha ase me sure say nra wo hwe kakra na at least feedback and questions big so ne answers no kakra say they see ecofire and na most of the questions were based on ora galamse I said no penny niema mienu a edi akotene anopa na meka say wohwe nipa obisa question na ye a odo kakra menua bema Sadiq Adams obisa TikTok say dem krofo ehye chiro mudidi atem ni ade na president aka say eso mama signal brio for ekwan enti wo IP ni ebetimi e de trace aba abechewo ma wo say krofo Titi social media so obi so won dey use VP and also use V1 and ekira so no Australia enti say Prez Mahama so de IP na ba abechewo mo ani o ma kire manewe hey modiamo mo be sada. And see, these are some of the questions by and president and so so far so good. Dear, why here for the past 8 months?
Yeah, the kind mencha what here for. Namenka was a very good and very refreshing encounter yesterday. The Ubenya president was availing himself to the people of this country. Said, I've been in power for 8 months. May afford you the opportunity to ask questions. And I mean, so they might clarify just to. Once there be a catch us a governance and your bosom, and then Gruphobia question them, Equaya, your babontia, then you need to drag the people along.
Yeah.
Everything that is happening beyond, people must know, people must understand, and people must be part of whatever that is going on. And see, boy, mine. Now, create some sort of a shield be around you, and people don't see what is going within. People begin to speculate. When people begin to speculate, citizens special build it. Now develop it into propaganda. We want to be in control because you are not giving out information.
Yeah.
And one of the strengths of President Mahama is communication. It is a way a president. You don't sit down for some of these things at all. You leverage that particular potential now. I bet me I'm our advantage. I'll bet me a church and say more because on your beer, you be a question about say we make a friend minister man because you could see clearly this is a gentleman who is on top of almost all the issues because he's part of it, he understands it and he's able to dish out questions sometimes very detailed answers to clarify a lot of things. I think it's one of the best things in recent time. I think that is good because you see all your campaign, no?
Yeah.
Not Ghana for a concern about say because you call almost 3 to 4 good years. Now President Akufo-Addo availing the home for media encounter. You never have not any media for bisa no question. But mine now what team OD so no. He shut the door. Na Ghana for Kwenya emisa no question because Nema na Ekoso at the time was so filthy to the extent I'm not sure say he could have defended himself. Is the reason why I was shut it down. No? So President Mahama made a categorical promise to the people of this country. So obey transparent and the people of Ghana no benya Kwenya emisa no question. So apart from say Enra, one of the campaign promises was satisfying. No?
Yeah.
It also a be door na Ghana for to see Nema Ekoso as to whether someone in the Bayard and answer one in the Yard, that's a different thing. But the bottom line is that the door is open or media questions via Hobiano or Mubisano. But Anra said na we see Canada Bakwa now dominating in the questions has to do with accountability. Accountability in your government at the Fufrobia mum. The various individuals are in the last 8 years, plunged this particular country into the abyss. The very people who leverage on political power at the board of minor chrono. There has been a lot of talk about because early stages of Mahama administration, that was when this aura came.
Yeah.
enti de be hu ya say na yakwakochi we na gidigidi ye ne ko bia na ye man be na case na agu sa enti na Ghana forward becoming increasingly frustrated say what is the way forward because it's 8 months down the line. I don't know kwa gidi hey na gu gidi hey na gu na Attorney General press conferences upon press conferences in some more can sometimes what in a while to utie bi kwa na obo yafu na whole lot of stuff. So Ghana forward very angry and getting frustrated because you see ade ba kwa ma Ghana for di lie so koto aba nyina yes enkrofo no ma wiaye no ye no mo bedi na ya make sure say as a prisoner ye do omobekọ na ya se agi esika aka ho because ye ntimi entena se emu oman by the virtue say obi anya akwanya say me minister me way and that open door for that particular person na we ya yete kroma enim kwan fa say politics. It is not mainly based on merit some way be nipa no nimdia na say some way be about who you know, the alliances, the affiliation, who your friends are, and those kind of way na yede and you are careful, we might end up smuggling a lot of criminals in the name of this appointee as for and in the last 80 years that's exactly what happened. So yen to me metana ha and Ghana for akodi lie so akoto aba say yembra na yeme punish these people then it becomes something else. Now I like it when President Mahama said say the omonya certain temporary relief na boom they will not go scot-free. I hope sir he will walk that particular line because one thing Ghanaians will never forgive Mahama government and they say failure to hold these people accountable. And Attorney General must also do everything that he can to inspire and engender confidence. Because in recent times, social media, personal aura, they get a lot of clicks on social media. And any people on the aura because they don't even know where it is going. So I think say you use this particular opportunity now you get Ghana for along because my culture say you see say amamu siwa me fan say we amamu. Now what when say soldier for mo twa ho ahia na ebo ho ban then won ti amamu ase trust and confidence ameno you repose e wade we and the man ban the gina ho. So the very moment you see say citizens abamu and they are withdrawing their trust, they are withdrawing their confidence, and you know say you are endangering the prospect of democracy and the governance now what's no. So encounter very very important. President Mahama took the opportunity to reaffirm his commitment to say or baba ya and make sure say nipa no modo mo nsa abo man sikam no aman no mo bedi na no say na wa follow me in recent times. I've been doing some way be on scholarship secretariat na wo head near ma akoso ha yetimi ma kwabrane scholarship na ono afa na yire ne ma me ensa na odi aka na yire ho na ya fa school nipa na ya man scholarship ne ya tamo mu nyina na atwa plenty kita mo aso omakobu UK na on monthly basis ye ti o ne yere ne maka me hu be that there is no scholarship regime as anema we nyina akoso e wo ho and the question is a day in a state no ya fa ho enti na enra wo hu say most of the questions ni nyina e border on oral accountability because you got to a point among for you a bit confused what is the way forward is government really committed? And now we TFF equating some now can hear about your friend saying some NDC people behind the scene trying to cut corners. We see Nipan bet me wadamfo, but obi a we are minor Adam for some beer and this is no time to be cutting corners. And you see Ghana for do nanya akukodro to abati akufo ado yina ban fluo because of corona na akoso sebaya ye be present na ya for do ye ho a certain opportunity and momentum and a certain will ye betime daily ruthlessly with these individuals because they came purposely to plunder this country and enrich themselves. That is why a lot of millionaires who have sprung up from the MPP and they're bragging around because the whole governance almost set it up was an avenue for people to enrich themselves, and that's exactly what they did. We cannot sit here and allow this culture to fester. That is why the conventional red lines must be established in the red sand. Who said, or minor, and yama say ya by minister, and yes, a winning young such and and yes, a school or a be near Sassi so, and your privilege and a president and your GDO and to execute your functions benefit among for in line with the welfare of the people. Apart from that, there is nothing. But Yahano and Yasana, yeah, the 2 million amount for Honor who are Homaswaka, Nipa would or wouldn't say, Madame for the Menino Crowd, they could deal for now and found few because what do different level. That kind of psycho mentality now. So I think that we need to, you saw. Yen demonetize the political space. Ma manfo mu say enye avenue anase ade a ye de ekọ enriche ye ho. Na mom eye servitude ye de ba besom. And ade ba ko betimi ye de establish this particular thing. This particular ye fan say oral thing na. Yeah, behu say prosecution cause of. Mahu Attorney General has been talking a lot about this. Ye fan say sa prosecution na amount for negotiating no friend pre-bargaining agreement and so you see yes in line with law and as for but don't forget that particular pre-bargaining act was slotted into the constitution in 2022 even for no more also the very people who have stolen from us they knew the outcome they ever be see that you know and then they made sure that the plea bargaining will be added to the criminal distance and that is a window they created say eto there na ya ti hai me bana say me best sabo camera nyina me wi akona say ya be chim na me ka so oh don't worry camera me fa tere we dem the two beba na munja me this kind of nonsense you understand that and it is not deterring enough may the criminal justice system should be deterring enough to deter further engagement. Prison, the most important thing in a man's life is the freedom. So when that freedom is curtailed, that is taken away, it should serve as a deterrent to others. That is why you punish a crime. So we cannot just be running around this plea bargaining. Abasana, you are creating enough incentive and motivation for others to come and steal. You understand? So I think that we need to navigate this particular storm in a very pragmatic manner because first 1990 and Ghana 14 they didn't even know what was happening within the government space. First we better TV so can kwase abro for boma obi o tie kwase no why or confused no born in someone tiasia kra na because they were marking people how fluent and eloquent they were by then. I am telling you that the average and the ordinary Ghanaian is part of the politics. They have inserted themselves. They are asking a lot of critical questions. The why. They want answers. If you are unable to satisfy them with the whys now, or back at out, you understand? So government must always navigate through this particular stormy circumstances by having in mind the wishes and aspirations of the people who voted. Because people behind them, they are navigating, they set the stage and agenda, everything for the government. And you know what who's my way now what disconnect or you become lonely because that na catch like for buy makola made omonto masehono nam so na no because they first say ajenkwa baba be say we the last year no be kon okofa makola nke matugulu so born on the same person no be say what is the difference the last time na akufa no be kon or ye mistake of makola and can mad tomatoes na ntoma na be bono because was sell minor bubu but this gentleman was the darling boy of the same people. What has changed and the 2 million just to make sure so the bayard papa abrababoni or the boy enti. So it is a lesson I think that every single politician should learn say yama to me and just win nyansa change obia and I think that is what we should do. So President Mahama what he did for me I think that a good our short Ghana for we are watching see how things will play out and on the your friend saying Galam say yes I agree with him say the distraction has gone on for almost 8-9 good years. Yes. You cannot use 6 months, not 8 months to stop it because magic na yeah. And they say, I think that the baseline that has been established thus far, not any deterrent enough, is the reason why some people still feel emboldened say they can go because Galam say now say MPP for free men this year na yaba and so. When I join news, almost what capture about 400 excavators. I'm for a year and a port. That is a reporter details in your so if all these things are true, then I think government will have to establish this particular way. But Sagalam say no, I no go area. People who think they so ya buy naba. And we need to stop these things because I know the destructive nature of these enterprises, on the life of Ghana for the priority not to go to Bibenya or the best saying soon and so forth. So I think social media and so forth. People are asking questions about Galamsey because in as much as me with the 8 months, I think the government is doing something because land minister he did something very very important by making sure say act na abaye very controversial no or no sorry afa act nda come age say
fa kono yen
repeal because that was one of the promises that President Mahama made to the people of this country. So I think that is a credit, and it tells you that the land minister and government are willing to stop this. Your friends have and I think that is a good start. Sometimes all fighting corruption and all fighting Nema. The most important thing are your commitments and the willingness to do certain things, and I think they have demonstrated it a bit. Say yes, they are ready to fight Galamsey because the same Galamsey they so unfortunately you sacrifice about your friends say 4 great 7 or 8. Yes, great men. So, if there is something that we can do to honor their memory, it is stopping this nonsense. And I think President Mahama, beyond the rhetoric, will have to, your friends, man up and make sure say stringent and very, biting tough measures. Be able to ever stopping all these things. And yes, Kasano there. I'm not sure it will solve anything.
Solo.
Yeah, Gronto.
Now, where there?
Yamia need you, Acadia John de Becahua. If you pay. Now they are John.
Papa could be your friend. That's a mayor who declined can. Was in Yami, why not for me? Acadia John Mamma, the best so. Okay, the Yamia said, who ye dear not to say. No idea decline when you pay Wabra Buma. One more day, I can't who could never.
The Bia go for the issue.
Oh,
anyway, so maybe a year ago. We are maybe did free.
Okay, yeah, starting with media encounter with President Enra.
I just sent me and go in Senkobanko for Pesomotiano. Corruption and Galamsey. These are the 2 key issues. If he say Ghana for a dome, now in some here, it is a Abawe Nura Mama di Diagro. Because let me tell you, and this is the Ghana for Konosao. Happy that be good when you must say, oh, this is just and at that time, Ghana for any alternative before. The first time I who say, I sorry, I offend the Catholic Church down to Sakra. It will be a demonstration, prayer, a demonstration of them pay your boy. Say, oh, my penny, what pump when you mean Tramuka, some motion, now yes, census, and okay, Okroma.
Make I.
It didn't goody. Ebio operation recover all loot. Sika, we are any and your Mekanwana Ghana for who say any animal Tikrumha, Ubuya Sika. I just be a DSU. Into Momrana Menima. These were the 2 key issues at Edurama by. It is our partners, a son, you man, one handler. One I would dig away, woman. A drop and politicians must understand, sir. Be being will make yourself win election than to perform, than to respect contracts, a social contract. Yeah, Timem for say, me bar, me shop, me say, Oba Soye. I don't think corruption. May Attorney General start here. Me and one of the pillars, and I'm a board of Basopa say. Odinka be ye press conference ye do dia to ya na ye hu se ye ko ni sei afi watiada akonteri mo friend I would ne did ba ku bi shefi ya de ba ayede akuturi
aye I know dey wo bona on ti amuni ya
me de pa why ya dey beautiful edubo ahede ya odi aba wo the national service wo di aba what the Ghana Bruni, my friends, Mustafa Ahmed. What's that color? Uncle NBA, not the color, then you cried that to and I toss. What did the other tour say? Oh, my Bogana corner. In fact, National Service Squad, your share said by end of July. Odomeko as in Libya.
Yeah.
NBA, dear Koy, Sram, Yantefi. So it became a source of worry. Now, that's the way I can. Yeah, opposition for granted. Opposition here. Say any MB before what we had is somebody can be over there. Now, on one party for they are so worried. Day and day, I told you about Owusu. So they are unable to even go back to or more fear to go and tell them say And some now you kind of opposition, no, yeah, man. That is what is confronting them, and no pressure. And I'm not 50 I say people are cutting deals, and because as a general secretary, without the party office, they be a complaints here. And some are showing evidence. Ejekobasa na ni bride abem. Tibefi say eyasema eni say a cross obi a mind say odi be di agro. I said it and I say o man pedi mama ne manyi ni. Na hwe sharaf ni yi. They have more years ahead of them. Yeah. Now they be aya na me the Kwame Nkrumah example say sabia ya ba Nkrumah there was no go and commit me when you Jomoro city. E dear brother na Aboro Nkrumah. To even become the chairperson of CPP. Yeah. Now Nkrumah ono Ghana kasa beroti. But moja binti ne papa binti. Yeah. Ne papa di binti. Otu ko ye MP for Jomoro. Akwa so Nkrumah bana. That was it. Obi a to aba and block.
Nkrumah na ne wo mutirim.
That is it. And no more of the family by CPP. So President Mahama has that duty to protect their children. And don't you triple fine Ebia or yellow dear, not from dear so man penny. But essence on to me more baby and trading go for CCO. You must be ready to hire and fire. Oh, appoint to be 1 week long, my Pamano, who will be any contract. So then better on one same There is no way you must pamper anybody. It's as that you remember for home. So when you're 10 or manga on you are. I'm telling you, let's say 2024. Every baby on Kobe, I know what to take. Tita, no, my baby, it was so difficult. And conform on the t-shirt, mom. What they were doing is say, almost sharing this at idea or form, almost the tag could do rally grass or much at idea, every video. So, oh, yeah, Jessica, I know that was what was happening. Not just say any braba. Yeah, the Encasa Pudio show, your party are being and Jacquia Belonche. Let's share video. Are you with me? Yeah. On tackle corruption. Konfo Wia Isika. National Scholarship Secretariat. Ekufado ye nyoma mienu bia na dey protect krono anomabo. And people must be clear with it. Number 1, opake court. So the boni court here we come. Yeah. Court ka say wa boni say jao. Yeah, be jao. Owie ye no ado sanso de other Ivan Ekaro. The amendment of the Act 1079 by criminal and other related offences or be amended in the federal pre-bargain. June 27th, I know the coy. But July 22, you are happy. I know the same move. Say, Modi Munko, we are men, Nana check, and some friend the law. Yeah. Now you are based on it. What do you say? Yeah. And you put a Munko, we are making sure 60% with the baby. Edu the idea near Combo. How is it said to big Mahama of ECG? Up to now, committee be friend. Now you do say ECG, Cronwalk so. How is this a Fenno Marcus as a board chair? Can get a book? Oh, I am friend. I will be joking in this country. No amount of semantics for which you are saying, we are. Thomas Penny Mama, you must act. Yes, and right, it was reassuring. So, I say, investigation be no. Yes, but let me tell my Penny say, me cost you now, me go help boy. I'm not interested in going to our country. Say, yes, she said, game room for my children. You better go. The minimum one is a board.
Go net in him.
Support that you may benefit. I don't know. The minimum say, go on, I'm a yeah. And a honor. And Manenko, yes, the General Secretary says that people are cutting deals, which some of us know that is happening. Now, I don't have frustrating process, you know, at the end of the day. Because the second coming, he must go home with a legacy. So, Oba, you know, Ghana for some man, second chance, you know, one farmer mediagro. Nanko for a good way to be good anymore. He's also not lucky because the point is that I just cry and this in Ankasabeko internal premise. I can't compare Omu leader, so to say. And the people of the views that yes, he can go. Now, you have go elections. If you have such mentalities as Uncle Fono, they will try to want to cut deals to get money for this task ahead. Now they are all for to man and in day. And now on the question of Galamsey, take a day like it. Nippon watch The Minister of Defense, Obaneboama, the bosom friend, Mutala, so close to the president, Alaji Muniru. Alaji Muniru, so close to the president.
Yeah.
What you say? Samuel Sapo, Samuel Abwaje, and these army officers. On my soon here from the 6th of August to the 15th or so of August. Omani now back to a standstill. Before then, Maso Mahama, Major Maso Mahama, all they do is get down.
Yeah.
Because of Galamse Yabio. And I can say the Ghana water say or person or tuning soon because of the Galamse. I can say, cause don't do a minute free across the country. Oh, call Chebi says here and call for top pure water the dear Gary. Chebi, go to Chebi, move from reporters and go to win and show great area. Ya tira wa ye ho and then go for the sick Jananka because of Opedia, Omupe good. Hey, that's over to go near you. There was a point. 80 state of emergency. My penny things that I say Owusu. And no, they did the issue of NIMOS, National Anti-Galamsey Operating Secretary. Yeah. If the president will give them the full backing, I'm telling you, they will deal with the matters. Because who the commander is.
Yeah.
Like he's a straightforward commander. He's someone that has the nation. Kanabua on Yobia. Yana go 40 days abu visa amabu and Yarano. This is Oko Army open the top 2 army officers. Kanabua is one of them.
Yeah.
So they are not related.
They are no relationship.
They are not related at all. Kanabua no kwasa amabu abeye minister ina odi nya encounter.
Who nim the baby
ya the soldier knew at the baby the soldier
on peculiar politics. All the time.
He's a fantastic man.
A professional military officer. Top 2 Ukomwa obienim the credentials. And then the other say he has sworn an oath to defend the integrity of this country. People must by all means find fault with him. But I want to assure all those that are doing say I am ready to defend that kennel. For one thing, sir, his image in the Ghana Armed Forces. And never politics, I would say anybody.
Yeah.
Omani say, Omani gu. Yet home, I don't go for yet to Cromwana, yet to the forest in Yamma, see and go to Galam say, a good for the Nabai. No, I can't offer airline 2462 aba. One by ya one anonymous and said yes again room. Yes, yeah, crash that you couldn't crash. Yes, a brother you go for it for a reason. Say a Bema forest no, and your money in Rasa I come. Would you buy an ocean and madam, and it's young room you go to a good year. I say, Minister, and I sorry say, Omungo Yisa airline, very important. Na momwa sa 9 months for no ye nyira be boa mo no mo kusa kun no mo kuno mo disun kunimu a ebe boy other areas I think the president did well.
Yeah.
He was frank. I thought say on the issue of Galamsey no the opposition they say they don't want to go say in state of emergency. Yes, but on can who say anye yesu a ye ne be bo na chi.
Yeah.
So you have an option of state of emergency, and you have an option say obey use the existing tools to say I'm in new way no money, you know. Now idea ba ko be boa no pa so the same. Ne asema wakasa say MCB and DCB man ho kwa man important ye Galamsey over permanent fit so. Because who to be chairman of DISEC. Now important ye Galamsey na so to. Na dia na wo to so ye.
What's why are they?
Tina mampeni no die. Na oka sembi and the chese omo wia ye pan kufu ado ne nkofo. Also for the last 4 years Ghana for shape $42 billion every kroma. Companies in Nyoma. So omo de kra Nyoma ba. Nyoma na ambassador ko. Individuals here okay. And your party for year, FBB for year the koye sa Nyoma. Where your fine case?
A fine case.
It is a oh my penny, men caution of my penny, no, I bet Cassassin, we are Cherna, Metuana, Bosome Bakum, you do, yes, now, my Benimero Babe. And you are very good about because the SEO Kroma, what Sadia, that scholarship secretariat, a year. Over years on Makosha Parliament. And this gives like Manana Bozo. Oh, no. And somebody can go Kroma, Yakas give to a warrior, I catastrophe project, Rubia, he said, I was one tree. What do Kroma? What's him? One Ancasa gives you a worry. Young. No, what is scholarship review? Oh, what GB? Yeah, I don't know. What give you? What yes, in the system? Ah, what give you? And I by that was no, or what GB Maniku. It me a short grass already at Okogiano, stipends or GB Manicus or the Cruz also did. I don't know Cruz Aquajin was I just stipends, Amano. Now, one I campaign my MBPina, a Cabenza. Wo kwa na ye campaign me no ka say na national services so proye kan ya wa ye ho adadwa root sato
ya shadow o se babies nyina wo mo
chese di pan suro nyame wa kwacha na baby kafu
be se me ka to so mo nim nyansa
baby underwa
class for gwa no wa baby class for gwa
ni obokro no
hey na wo enkwada mako 1000 under one jisika na no as enye ina fo o refi se da mmerewafo ne kokrafo so 92 years chimi for gwa
national service
ana obo sa ko fa Kenya fo nyina so be she chese kro no time gwa no mo abo na sa se mo ya yete ho convince me the idea and this is as we fast national health insurance hey papa no won start expose wo mu na wo no o ba ye project kan kan wo ho no yes o betra so what you say airport company ho nyina say pacha airport company na national lottery squad ye wo mo wo se sie kura de me ye mu ye twa lotto na mo de akoma private person no gidi mo buy ya na mo so chese akoye scratch my back let me scratch your back how can we behave in this country like that hey emre bi ba and what yes on the pa
yeah
the pa meburu Gen-Z after they are going omo they starting omo for grand say ministers and parliamentarians ba no mo exhibit lavish lifestyle now see we will deal with you omo start your visa gra prime minister we dwane and the parliament obi adwane esan say Gen-Z for na hu say mo pese mo de omo brabo ediago there is no way as anyoma we o say makwan na ye wiaye a obi anka ho hwe ti omo ti o ya hwe se omaka se omabedi sa bodi se obe prosecute omo mante Mustafa Yusuf diwom omabedi o mishira mo fanshem esan se national service or no a chief executive officer ho the buck stops with him ejino mo hwe na se mo ye ya na manashim Africa Games all Africa Games
no bosso
crowd ya mbiti for so kwako for so asare so all defend the expenditure hey kwako yes so nyina sports highlight una na wo ye ya dia na ma una se sika pudu say kwa mo ba dai
be defend
nobody yet to me no watch $15 million okrom ha na ko form first can nko go face Ghana AC Takwa Sports Stadium right from scratch adwa me so man pani e ka say dey ba be prototype ekoso wo mo $13 million University of Ghana Stadium is sure na esi1 wow akabe 16% Mustafa Yusuf ne go for catch rest almost spending $34 million in the completely keko Elizabeth say Liman sa hostel there stretch no na Alice da mo de condition ba ku mienu ko tata mu aboso maboka $16 million ada ya bo na mo kroma esa say e was some gofobi enye sika enya omotam we cannot continue to do behave like that kadi esi okokobon kotona beton one site bi di tonaton koko yi wo ho wo mo beton so di obusika ba jefa komo omo no yesi ya boka say almost 32 billion the managing company no what if you through na obre I don't also bro Randy what you are there what busa questions o metro what do hano manusu ya hoda kwa shedo bia I with me ejiro say ye yele sa I'm telling you say ya obo so omano obia be se
beka ne ho she
beka no na sika kakra na ebem ye nyina aso ye nyina de so it does not surprise you say yakobo bisia $750 million sika sa ekwan ya ye nye to wale ye nya ni pete bia woni we mu aban ya kufu do be connection no ma be mobilization of almost $30 million ekwaya o ma nkoso sika o madi na palu good am ne urafi $12 million buko change kind of Bollywood boy na project amaso. How can we be doing this to ourselves? That is a kroma sika wa ha na ye we nyina wie na krono ne kankai na nipa na no eche hini wo mu a yemfa ne mra Ghana no cha America ken ofuri acha da be na ache lasem yesi Ghana se be kan na otwepe
yeah
wo se se no akoda enyo SP the promises or the neighbor anya ken ofuri acha lawyers na ti kromu a omo ne nim brofo tro e ka kire se May obeba May 1 month June obeba aye ye ni September mne awe ma mafia me kan just say kerofurato oya na American passport o ma let us say buapayo hwe mesa e course e wo the Bank of Ghana Dr. Anderson ye wie asa de BBNC okrom a what to be print sika man broso say bo yanga opposition now what about the National Cathedral stealing in the name of God and an onwako commission Deloitte and two sir omonfa management account ni ade mra ne yi hwanyoma na ewumu tan and no be dey gakra say you invest $97 million not $58 million
58
na ya sa nyoma we nyina da ye nimu a na so obi esore adope na ofiri makura se na oni akonya te so na oni eyi na mo sa hia gofu na mo from honorable sa na mo modam ade what is honorable about them say yi mu besi wa da mo be wi o man sika eti ye ko ye nim no o man pani emma ne nan sisi ho na attorney general se ba bi na ye odin na se o hondo do so a obetwi atwe ho se o hondo do so na so bi na tata wa ka kire ye ne ni par kwa koyam e be chia yam se bibia so ye fine na se o ye idi e de be press conference ba ko for me
na ye hu de
e ko na me timelines because the only the chance ye nye se na o ye you when you share with press conferences that be follow
the twaso sa
the only chance na come home you just two me say hey master you person o twimidi
yeah
obia so e ma obi ntwe obi ndi
yeah
short ase won to me dey say matese ma panian no work e to me ndai now we must be a lesson to what's the apaluda system
na onya bill na say no kasa ma MPP ana ma kwatena yoku ama no
o say o mo na hu so sabi wo na jere ni nya adwuma wo sem me tie jere mi abidua jere o kase ho apaluche mu na di no kra na mfa no ho o mo ja no ho so o mfa ba akonko abroje die ya no be hu so mu di akire o mo ja apaluche ho ewi ase no sa nkofo e ma ka kire mu se sa before mu no mo nam wo nya asem hwe esa se wo nka krekra mo boam ya wi aye na ubeye yi wo ma fa so ye outsider obeji a obe charge no agiko e no da so chem e de ti ye wo boani nyina no what about hanan die yi buffer stock
e no president boss so
e no e be koda be no
o se nyina ka ho
e sremo o ma peri e mebu no se wo de wa adwuma am adwuma now to be Jesus ka chichi nkofo egu mu ade okay
e no ano no
go me wo se nya fort sikana ga be bi adwuma no na hye nkofo ebutom afuna waji a o de ba be dey o ba be ya adwuma obosi be ko yanim
okay innocent
yeah I think
so well real scholarship did no remuna afi we are yemhwe NPP accusing police of selective justice
yeah I think scholarship crowd there no one narrowed down to scholarship you leave out a lot of stuff because here in some solo bobo so yeah you see it's a catalog of filthy incidents asikroma and some of the motivation who heighten advocacy and I'm for proud to elections and then as a forum there are a lot of people who joined advocacy even though now among your party people and then as a forum but they wanted something to be done about kwanya minor faso na enyunu because for instance, me started from scholarship secretariat. The whole essence of this scholarship secretariat, Kwame Nkrumah in his wisdom, no so ebi no ho mo ye good. Sika 70 no yam famra na yam fan so mo ase no mo fanko. Ana say bia certain knowledge area be I emerge. O man no ye lack in terms of personnel. Enti yam fa obi nko na yen ko training no ombra back na ombeboa yen. Ukọ Nema course within scholarship secretary under this Kingsley not parliament here or so your MP. Scholarship na nkasa ni omo disi nchen And I'm for the BSF and short courses. And 2 weeks. Management courses. And you know, ya what way, ya tamwa, na ya chaplain take it amount. Na ya tamu ya do UK for 2 weeks. Near £4,000 as a school fees. Na ya amount £2,000 for Didi. Or buy a separate plane ticket to the amount. And in this particular way, no, a minor spend almost 51 million Ghana cedis. Me say a switch why you me executive report. And only so me the bema solo so
yeah, mambi.
And only executive report because an audit was your friend saying conducted. And now omo here kwan omo fa so a omo spend this sikaya make am wan say me. And over here I say your friend is saying unbudgeted expenditure. The program operator without approval budget lines or Ministry of Finance authorization. Total irregular expenditure is 51,305,985 and 998,158 pounds. And the aka just over 2,000, not £1 million. Hey. Oh yes. Sika within this short course, so I'm for a flatter around.
Ghana form was scholarship.
No, there were Entina and the scholarship can Mahama because Sika has a moody scholarship. They were using it to run short courses. A B and as I buy a way, Cronubia or Chrome her Bia can who be gift your water no or Kwajibi and all the core. And I'm a over scholarship name proper as well. Honestly, Nikunu, yes, I've any Peter Mensa. Honestly, Kwajibi. And I am money scholarship no and I see I'm fan a year in Cajon and I use a year allowance. Oh, I'm telling you, and you have plenty of money. Yeah, your Macquabrane scholarship, your friend Papa be a do chimusa wine. Your man scholarship. Scholarship, the man is one quite into Cofa, you never can and I ordinary never can. Or mammy and son, and your Cofa and Crammy and San de Bacan. And the Crammy and Sano, yeah, visa processing for each of them near 400 million. Our UK consult. Your company will say a vibe consult, educational consult. I'm a high or more. And per head, you know, UK will require priority working. Yes, 5,000.
Yeah, 2,000.
Yes. Each head, I have 400 million for visa process. Take it in count.
We are man, they are thieves.
And the movie, I know, most Sabus, and 4 Nuna, and almost some cotton UK. And to Papa, you turn the school fees, your man allowance. Your man a year allowance. Your man ma allowance, Afibia, you tea allowance, man, and man to what we did that on Papa's and then you tea and a year and a maca. Now, Papa not to when you have a family emergency, I will feel scholarship secretary and Santo plenty to man when your family emergency, no Ghana. Now, on made in the fear, now on sign Sabi and a year because yes, because year scholarship into I'm a solve family problem now, my son come back and a year ain't sound mind and also letter by now. So you try plenty to man who know about Ghana by any family way, we are not Sanko. Yeah.
Na ponya binana.
I know see the old ones.
Different.
Just na post you different.
Oh, you are different.
I just have from a group no. I know you're different.
New one we are making. New one you are making. Nana B Kwajibi.
What also GB?
Oh, Dr. Okoboy Kwajibi.
And scholarship.
Anna, your friend.
And I say your brilliant by need.
Because Nana B Kwajibi, that's what you scholarship no akwa na say one boy.
Na gift your one no oh yes CEO no timi ko this scholarship. So you see, me say who say Ghana for buafu and they want the Attorney General to do something and you be akake o. And America no baby e kwa koduru enye party same be anyway. It is about saving the soul of this nation from the hands of these criminals who use their tenure to rob this country. Do you know a number of brilliant people who could have been given this opportunity but they were denied? And yeah, there is another group of people. Almost they say a ton scholarship no more.
Yeah.
Wow.
80,000.
No, what you can't call a scholarship.
So Bobby said, yes.
Market
£100,000.
Oh, I know a lot of people. Now me post to social. I'm for sending people are willing to come out. Or scholarship in 80,000. No, but some stipend. No, I can't just say I will travel take time. Was my best compare you man yet. Just stipends and also Oklahoma Obudi and come baby. So the whole scholarship we know was a criminal cartel and a more pretty and aside that they were using it to do visa racketeering.
Yeah.
Because yeah, obiti make us all 2 weeks. Yeah, fans 2 weeks short course. Ni aje 10-year UK visa man ni echiaka. Now 2 weeks ni aje 10 years visa mobi. They are all in the document. And it's so filthy, it's so dirty. And I'm urging the Attorney General, say, you see, when you plea bargaining, because the mindset in a criminal, Nipani and Abin say, and Abranted, and no, they are quite parliament and they are and scholarship also or distributing is or check Katia station. Media houses are Casafono or Mobia, just some Mobianca. Media houses a walk room said or hewa no day no amabi so a man for kwa jejeje o kwa listen ma journalist akese o walk room finding what documents in him and this you know about hand back man and who resist scholarship issues are kan obi anka because no so ajibi
nti o mu.
So I think that the state must be very frontal, must be very radical. Now you go after this in the say I know the day say John Mahama dollar about 1 cedi na atop your friend say bass magana ni bia with you ko toilet crack bass ma Ghana for will not be happy.
Yeah.
All that they want say nipa na mu wi aye sika no we want them to face prosecution and if possible jail them. Na yen sanji sika ade ya pa ne say nipa onim nyansa be wi no sanji sika na wanim
ya crack too much.
Obi a onim nyansa na ya na make us me going forward no I think that powers na ya dem president no yem pe kwan bi so na yem twa so.
Yeah.
Because I think that over the years they've been abusing that particular power in terms of discretion to appoint who to lead. Because for Akufo-Addo to appoint Obi Akwa national service. Na national service nipa no oto so me bokro na krono na mebo no me the document enkra mo ye 1 year edi na share no e just say nipa dey damp. That person is so damn to the unqualified for anything. Yes. So why would the president appoint such a damn person to such an institution? Because national service, you have a 90-year-old person. You have social media. You have obi passport. You have obi picture.
Oh, Kenya.
Kenya ni na ya heard here was here near the best documents. Na ya di Jessica. Kwabrani timi for national service enkura totofi wo mu ahia for sika 700 a month.
Where national crisis?
Yes.
Where national crisis?
Na yeti wana ya pre bargaining. Na yeti wana kasa bebre 8 months. No. Ghana for want some decisive action. Yebehu say we are going after these criminals and that is me say kasadodo on top of kasadodo bia wo change the narrative. All that Ghana for penny say sa kro no akuo no e ko ba million. Exactly. And we say we need to activate some emergency way period where me say prosecution it should not be in Accra. Yen set up sunyan di domai di brekumu di drobu di across the country. Now you're making sure that within a space of maybe 6 months, you know, you're finishing everything. Exactly. Because all these cases must be tried simultaneously. No one say you're serious. Because this is a national crisis. Emrantia ne mayo abro mo abre okroma emrantia mo na ma amanone enkwase adwuma se be nyese nipa na ye Ghana for eti abroche na amanone ye because ni krom nya de ni krom no so ye rich che your mind na otiso no ba kwabrane ewia sika ne stop Benz ne Bentley the man girlfriend na support na wotia na u di ohia all the difference between one and say or join a political party be and aba power na damfo na ye president or page na se ba bi na de bon kwase akra no de abewiaye me say ya nya careful ho ya democracy ya te ho ya ne last leg ejina so this John Mahama administration na say amanfo abamubu no mo withdraw trust na say na pa kra de o mo president na ewo yie me say ohun ba bi a Jubilee House ni sini esi awiam na Ghana for sorry so mo ba side and side obi like Owusu Castran ka wintimi mfira chire ma ba we ba bi esi no Ghana for gipu ye twa ho ahia. We must not get there. Because when anger begin boiling up in the way, so all that government will have to do is say, obey nema, ebe ma Ghana for akuma to mo yem no mo nya ahotoso se, ko ahotoso na nigie na Ghana for dokoto aba. We have the victory that John Mahama secure, show the trust and the belief Ghana for war. So I think say we need to repay Ghanaians by making sure say, I understand you see the wheels of justice are grinding slowly, but you see this is governance. You need to sustain trust and confidence. Ma manfo abamunko bu enkonkoda. And now I'm for can ora crown na but first no na ya de ba kwana again a lot of traction on social media. I think confidence must once again return. Now you demonstrate willingness through action say we are not ready to compromise. We are unwavering in our resolve to go after these criminals, these unwitty criminals, these unintelligent criminals who use power to destroy and steal from this country. Now you're sending that message loud and clear to people. I'm not sure that anybody will take this nation for granted anymore. Because men, make no mistake, Ghana are super rich.
Oh yes. You was capable.
Adia Sami Jemfia within this short period should tell you say Ghana are super rich. Gold board. If within 8 months, ultimately generating over saying almost 6 billion.
Yeah.
IMF Sikana Yakojana 3 billion.
3 billion.
Oh, yeah, the amount.
And not in trenches.
Yeah, the amount of trenches. Now, Sami Jemfi sitting at the office within 8 months to me generating 6 billion. A chance Sika Ukroma say, and we can do more.
And from small scale
alone.
Yeah.
I don't know. The amount a larger scale. I'm going to the court. They don't even pay their royalties.
Go after them.
So I think that Gold Board should serve as an inspiration to us. We don't have to go with cap in hand begging. Sikano Okroma say Ghana is one of the richest countries. UK and the size in Ghana when it comes to resources in near my own. Now you make sure say resources near bon buying the aboa developer. Say near my I'm saying say even young person be only a Juma Okroma be a buying bet me to 5,000 a month. Yeah. Because the money is here. But kwabrane nye obewia and you see you have politics and say ya nipa nya to me person raising who to a certain level who jira na say we aboa bi ma no and there be hu na yes masa honorable oh boss oh nana oh yes sir now we salute. But we are leader and I say who rise to political prominence na say adwene ne ba wutima say man ni ntumpon da because man be ya the growth of nipa na wo mu omo no and na man no grow. So I think that we need to be guided. Now going forward, you're very ruthless in pursuing these criminals. Because at the end of the day, say Yentimi and Jessica and the Abeyabiano, that is the only thing we are looking out for. Because number of corruption cases are there. So just look at Cathedral Kakwadao. Cathedral issue over 90 something. Yet Kroma say police military nejet. Now unfortunately your friends say papa you kwatena bi no mokwa wi yet over 50 something million asofo de chire ase kasoka kese se nyankopon kasa chire omo me minim se nyankopon kasa chire wonni hwe de nyansa de wo bi na for osofo so wo nyansa betimi akotu aban for se onkosi cathedral hwan enkra na emoa enum nsuo e wo serem enkra mayo na ho ye fe wantimi anko school akra hye na chiti kuma se ye kaya ye na osofo nyankopon kasa chire so nim nyansa se ye nkotu amana na yanya garden na ye ve enkofa heavily food wo more dama sam class se me kra ti do e ba
only said the last time kwada musa say na scholarship secretariat Jomama si office mono ma omo ba bi omo etu amena no what was say ba bi omo bu ni nyina tugu
papa na bu ni nyina tugu asema adade was mo sorry free
yes
am famous me ma sorry so nko sorry
these are amamboyefo ni se yaso so omo so asofo na omo di akire ni nyina ya amamboyefo. Because these are people who on Sunday basis, these are here for sitting in the church. Come the amount for. And the one I went to me to get closer to the president. For young Sasha and say, oh, Papa, Cathedral and the young hold honor. Me come Sora here for a month for near Juma, a month for our travel. Ghana need to me the passport to cost us of Mom Paimon to Quine. And young grants about who to Quine could be crum. So I don't fancy Bayana and the woman. But oh, here not drinking tea. So for him sad way, but oh, the Abayan to say Uncosi Cathedral. Now you have a boy a minimum kutu, me a board member. Now you say Tiana at the expense of poor people. Maybe bedroom, some of us will not respect. So we don't respect you because we are so funny. Only and who is among for Mebu? And you send the powder send a question. Because what they are supposed to do, that is not what they are supposed to do. That is not what they are doing. I think we must do things in such a way that you better build the hope and confidence in the estate. Sabaya Ghana Nibanya Hoto so say a to dear dear memma. But on mine team no what be true because individuals pursue sikane as for blaster na no e buy. Kwasi abaja to boye de kokoto. Obi so or your football management member or the team achieve your money $10,000. What bottom? Teacher needs your class. Watch there for 30 good years or co pension 400 million. What kind of nonsense is this?
Winning bonus. Oh my God! Now Bobo Prade be Owusu. Ya kwaji ka bu be ko.
And I'm say Ghana no hu ye obi ani timi ya den na nka me say na because coach ni ya foul say be coach ni ye tia ka adwuma wo ye ntina ye na wo ko we na bonus be. I won't pay you bonus. Sa $10,000 na me de be call off. Akwase teacher for kutu pass am fa nkwa ya adwuma. What kind of nonsense is this? Obi a onu di team na tia ya say oye mazoa. All the way. You see man $8,000. Do you know $8,000? Obiti baby a headmaster nempa boato nyina we
was ye mfa nkoma football
ajapade ne life wanya a bicycle minimum teacher for mo do mo salary gem mo obi de bicycle boso me beso de oje kura nuru 1000 ye fancy 150 Ghana cedis
football
o kwa da bi ono na yere we bo ya so because sika ni fi obi am obi a ntokwa pay car because of ni nyina ohia na oman ni wo sika obi ko mali aba o ye ko bobo they say your time $8,000 because or the Jesse best hangers. So now that will bother. Yes, yeah, fuel. Yeah, you go back him $5,000.
And I articulator.
Now you know, look, double boss reference I can't talk.
Yes, all dependent.
How many is it? Obey quartet.
Yes, just that's how you did. Yes, how you did. Now, Sabi, Jumbo just
to football this year that you started a hell because go for this
GFA is a criminal cartel.
Go for this
I like the approach your friends the minister now but I think say or no cry he's a bit way very radical has to be very because he's dealing with criminals. He's dealing with a bunch of criminals over the years, you know. They've weaponized the black stars. Yeah. As a cash cow. Yet to come me growing up football minimum has to focus. And I had the G and the young blaster ye. But Sir has to cut off on your 2 gudum, called blaster near Casca would dear chira. Now would the blaster chief walk up. Now be was a football management member, I want $100,000. I like you $100,000 or yeah. And you have been live for 1 year and sick of $100,000
innocent
because teacher for a pension more way.
No, teacher for more pension.
$8,000 Ghana.
Yes, Papa pension or woo ye. Headmaster and
yeah, do besides say, you know, when a better answer can be some mind. And if nurses are living, you should understand. If doctors are living, you should understand. Young people are living. I think you see, you know, I think that the whole country they see a collapse in the yes and the foundation. And now President Mahama can send me about this emolument and his explanation. I love it because say young Timinian in such a way, a political class be enjoy. Now I'm for good form. Now we don't struggle. Because service obi I know a doctor oko your friend say oti theater from morning to evening
also already on article 71
yes the risk involved and there yana say nipa na wo ye ne surgery no kra onhu anim kra because sometimes you even cover your face now wada was say oh papa me da was say was save my life. These are people who are sacrificing. Now what $8,000 obi di ma komali ene gabon kwa ko border. What kind of nonsense is this? I think we see it's okay.
I chrono le do so much as the tia le buofu because me ba no pe o hwe nkofo ni mo kwa ho encourage na so sorry anopa na say de wo tie nyina ne say we have fiscal no mu di kire and social media nti wo akoto data na wa say ho mo de ye party asanso a kire me de me kan nyina ne say attorney general no man pen ye di nka di Easter ba ko o makọ half o ko o ma Easter second be ka ho a o be di mo ayi ni so ma fisika when a mom target banks, Mungu ko fie ni we ebi ma ye underground yi mo bi tank
ni ade yes
mo trace o teko so mo fa chere o ma girlfriends no ebi ko o ma girlfriend want to apartments adan e wo kro mo na
adan no so mo to mo fo mo di ntu
o be twa cho se bo so me so mo ne ko twatwa be so mo titam apartments e ko kro mo ya pese ba kwa banza ba utobi eye wo mo na ewie sika mo to o mo aso da ko se India fo ye ewe enimu aso
mo sa kesi
Ghana for the years can show much you front to keke we pese wo ya obetua chi wo immediately na ya nyini ya ngwada de nja ba bi na lego ahose boy
the body
di we na share de ngwada nyina ba mu a na ye fe o ti ase send ye be ya ye be koye no yes how
kind of country is this
all right right, we are live on Facebook, my CTVGH, or him, Esther, dear, or say a Debia or Baha Thursday because of so loading Ivan. Dear, only me, yes, I'm a new was soon you're fine. Eh? Next, I won't be missing my Thursday as I know about, then on anyway. I call him, Esther, Medase, Papa Nelson, or say we need these guys every day on CTV. In fact, collapse all the guests you bring. Hey. Munya botena so lo ato no timi di misim na ma wa me broken heart.
And yes me no we gentleman and women's agreement.
O timi di misim no ma broken heart. At Ebenezer Motor say with all this now give to our worry has got an appointment in GFA and the Mahama government. In fact, okay, no, I didn't want to come. President was say, good morning. I'm watching you live from Owusu. Madam, I say messages no adore pa. But send by your time and konya yenti. Yenti mean treaty we answer. Yet me sorry. Miss Ati and free solo. What NPP accuse Ghana Police Service of BS being selective prosecution, arrest and other things because of conform what TikTok near mo keka ye cheche wo and recently abronya dia ya che no and na no so mo de ne court we hu executives ni bi commotion mo court so wo na afen so internal elections is ni mu ayere say ba umia ese wo true challenge person o ka ne mienu bom o se wo mo so wo sika no a wo mo na bu a party no eyo no ne hard work o ye no 2016 na wo di win power and na mo benya asa sika no 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 so kra no wa contribute to topic as be 300 to sika ne ade o wo no so wa contribute to be a fine nti
ma men chance free MB before you can say
selective
yeah I no cry because I selective yanka after your markets ba na kotwim talk as okoto ne sawo
abu police ni no
they selective so they are right and yes selective we ya social media say here omonkofo na hate speech if they way say eda me no kasenka oye na bi ato ku oman no kura that was why atroyan champ to oman no apalu abeka say your friend say
nkura wu na eden
one thing omonkofo so go zoom here fanti comedy ni say na omo ka say omampani na o se ko wu ni ade ti selective yi wo ho sort as jaji bi we de ti omo futuo no na sa so numu ye they are telling you say bebre na gu ho also obesisa you can't tell me say what sorry anopa abronya wo de si wo so say IGP in some can me repeat
yeah it's so high.
What did attempt to the sense say for no reason
yeah
na yeah you buy to what's it there me wa
salam
wako upe sisi connection is a new style of the kwa no
I know we I know we
sisi ya who dey go for set up private studios no
yeah I want online
sisi who dey be atemu a no wa track o back o person ko Canada waka ka choso pasala we tata o why na tata obi okromo wo ye tata ka bia benya kwa kotena so ekromo obi aka Canada
yeah
esa dia ne die we will protect it ba ko di boni wo mu a don't expect say wo mo edi akire ni nyira no de bia me ka say the party ni nya akono ana o the party co oppositioner bu ni adwuma bia yo sisi o mu nyira tichifi o enti o sorry ade o mu pa se ka he bi beba no ma ko di akire dia nko benya media fo ye interview o mo no de akire re that is all to it obi adu wo adwuma o so tia say eno ntiro if you said the security authorities and the mrano enya adwuma so access to the lawyers omonya na omde the court so the law is what
the law
enti abronye ene nkofo enti asiesa yamra oraba omia ne nsem ne omo campaign you see about 2 weeks ago on another platform that morning na me Ivan also ewo Joy Prime na abranche fe na wa Muhammad you see only facts nkwara bebre na ba media space a obviously before say baby no then we know what we are talking about the catch here say MPP no egu because the very foundation na emma kwa mesikasem emedi ihini wo mu no o ma say no se sikasem na ne ye MPP leader and there was nowhere Professor Dubois ebetumi abɛyɛ the flag bearer of the party esan se le go ho e de kra yi kra ye ntwe obi more than 20,000 ho so ti ase say no sika anana MPP decide who Lisa kaje Akufo there was no way because that enkoyi Akufo do the boy oh ya teza na babao ni masase e ani ya king enkoyi so ti ase but because of that in the party no that carefully educate political party biano e was said yes o members etuadues and the more we are part of the cake by some say wenum eba be mu 2000 bebre na tumi nya sika hye omo so anomu say the only way betumi yi bebre frame say you best start to introduce sika into the politics of MPP and to the extent NDC because almost be copy eti sika be mu no omo na wa dwini nyina wo mu nyina no kakra omu pamo omu free party no say anti omu tumi contest either to be a parliamentary candidate or a flag bearer of the MPP no you must be a millionaire ana omu dia yesa na bedru ubebu say say me ora ba omi abra fa no mi hu no
yeah ye nyina ye
oboko ye fake card no na me o free Bank of Ghana yeah you bet you go Bank of Ghana ni akoje the salary ni calculate any Japan na ba omiawo capre he didn't have oba ye Nigeria resources etawachi 22,008 sika a core campaign bebre na ebe shell from there when did you MPP do say in opposition what's the what are your campaign amomu win 2016 me aduma me ye 2016 ye mu half kasa kra na nimka kasa first no mo the gabi de jira gabi or can say no what to fuba kofo ye aduma look afoko crap system mo de gu ho come Japan ya me money because no after thought to me so wa nya baw because no until we asinase for the first time afoko mobile no na sika ko constituency account so direct instead of say e be say region for so mo US can
okay
under the general economic outlook Satam obi at the sumu 4 years how are you going to convince the person say on to abama NDCBO so the general to say before ya e ba ya om dia pamom no say before ni ba e ba ana party no e ba part 27 e ba wonya ho tam e no ba be twa boa se wuska hey na make us o ma be serious about now you investigate so o kire se wuska to investigate you the source of your money because you're the vice president of the land the only source of income aketua here but now say you investigating clearly now you are not feel one more no Kennedy Japan so how did he get his money and akoye sika competition contest
serious
offering no so no about Brian so how did he get his money? That wakwa educhum so. Ufri America base na de buy. Uba na be dada Ghana for say West school kakra kebi America. Ugo see no.
To sa na enye no kro.
Oh, over so. School bay. Titi wana abukwa America ba sana yeti global no be ka tre say MPP fo nyira ye sika fo that akuna do apreku nne ise babaw. Oscar Gabeja on was school Ubedi Deputy Minister of Education Ghana. Odo Benko. Odo Ghana got free in the first place. Where to come back. Then go ye. Baba Bedam who are bem. Etimam fund and ye.
I don't know.
What they are doing is to insult our intelligence. Say, or mind the man one of crime on Bedi and you know, yes, go over Yansa say. On the basis of this, I say Ghana for a pamom. Now nobody is giving any credible message.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Men are told we want to cheer 3 million towards national conference. We want to cheer 500,000. We say, but we are saying 7.5 million. I mean, how is that what the country is looking for? Makase enchekra ebeguto kojuto. By the 31st of January, no. Na ase kra. Esan say
grassroots no baby omoko bia me home there is no enthusiasm okobo mo dia piska kakra mo no mo betra o de ahwe mo nim most of them say so hey na wo na you free power me menya hwe every day na wasa be gina o da da bi wo tumi go gina o say kakra bi go wo yo ko mate mo ma de baby papa kra da o say kakra bi go wo na MPP nti da akoko gi sika puduo e de contract awanye no and that's all MPP the class because now MPP na say mo uchi says carrot be yaduma anamboa
pepe
enti party no is in disarray hwe o person obi be ebetu franka ewo o party so you are charging the person 4.6 million. That was the day na award me manso or no catch them say I didn't know what I was about. I was, hey, and don't know Afro Tigari. Can they Japan? Pardon them. Was look, make up file me new man. Me didn't got 100,000. And one of me issue a draft of 500,000. Me twa yano a executive Bakuba catch him as a director. We fee 4 million. No, say hey, a body pusa. And then it was the development fee. And one of the deadline also. One could try Kyei different. I don't know because the Matissa Quabraja pool a Kim. Say, I can't know it.
What's mean here?
Now, Quabra Chia Bem on Quabra would team ye. Well, Bush have 4 crop 40 you, and Quayam be shaking 47 billion, and Cosa grow well. Now, Quayas can wait. I don't come to man. I come not as well, young 1% crab. Now, walk was Akaway. At any moment, why they watch them. Sir, engineer kakra die won tumi face ka no e ma mehim enti eyade a e deliberate yakọ opposition obadwino sika ho tie enyu mfiri we ne e sika no ne enko na sei sa party obetwa dom timi ka cho se bua wi a na o ka se enti munya no mo
innocent
yeah I think that some na yakano Debia is the same thing MPP as a political party and you're ready say obesuya there. For the minimum party lose power over Tranchanya, you build internal structures a bit in your sustaining party in terms of credibility. I'm for who said the Nema Esiko. And even so by a contest against established rules of engagement, I yet say a bottom up approach now for convenience sake, obey any baby crana. Your message in as for what the air can near my the time for assume. Nipa na wo present no should be individuals asabi and the monyamne some nimdie bi will come to bear but we tie conversation na cause that's far na said na solo sika a money contest na me na me wo sika chen when na me na me yes na me na me finance when na me na nipa no nyina no so mu go na profile mo say answer na obi e be wura politics im no na ne sika sam yesan kwa ya tese ebinum se na mu twi taxi e wo America na se for nti taxi na twi no America na mo da billionaire e dey because in mama for mu twi taxi wo America e bia wo kọ no hokra ko bisa na so mpe $100,000 ma onya bi
100 we no ka me da maka $10,000
yeah yeah politics yeah kan ya fuya na nkrofo na namu a no mo de afa kwan bi so wi o man ni sika de begina bi mo gina na mo di dwo mo num obe ko sa unya taxi na wutwi a ba ko wo me yese no no aduane ma America soldier for yi no America soldier for sika se na etua wa wo bia wo no aduane wa kitchen ni sika be na benya na ba kroma ka so ye billionaire so you see a chiro say your framework ne na sefo no nyina ye very weak ene obi a sorry a adu pim so president di onu hu na I think say Uncle Pentecost de kin bi ni na you is a president Uncle Pesofu bi ni o ba bi na president agro na di so I say you chiefing the whole thing as agro bi na edi you understand yeah obi a wo do betimi aye wan kasa steady na ho a onye president de kin bi Sunday no wa bo tie na gina Sunday na wo preach nyame asem ene be bo ano dan say aba ne na ma so president de ono ha hwehwe ma president fatao I think we need to get serious and yeah sana baba ye sa wo ye wadwen se party no won chichiri ne ye ntoto ne ma mfa ne ma nsi ya amamfo de bedi agro and I'm sure say serious minds out there watching the MPP from a distance na no metie papa Kwame Mpiani ma na ye interview he shocked say a party MPP omunim party of intellectual and na ba beduru say Nti everything bi omo ye bi abu abam enhye nkuran ne nasefo no and kwan no nam so no I say you say bosom so obeku ade obeye bi obeku wo ya no hwea enye they are not ready to listen to wisdom nti kwan no nam so no eno no nam so ya say we see emusuo kwan so a wonanse ha ka na watu a wode koru ukowu ya be stop it was stop police ni kura stop a won't stop it until some kwa ko wu nothing will stop you and that's exactly what they are doing. So for me I'm not surprised kwan no mo nam so no ehun awie ye no mbekwa omonsa beka and party no my imagine so mo betwitwi fom na no utie omo youth organizers na se for radio so omo chese nsem omo kan kwa bizan se an MPP en na me ba ne se na mo kisa nkrofo we ye omo executive na nsem omo kan to asumu nti I think say omo ankasa tena so obo hu de ye kan ya ebetu omo for and then on abronye ne na se for no you see me I believe in your friend is saying ya mo bia kwanya na onka na dwen ne na se for no but over the years sa na ya mo bia ya but if he speaking no must also come with a certain responsibility. And I am not sure, say, Abronye Didi, your friend saying, IGP Atama, and Nunti no no, because the president, the president, did attempt. What I say. So, and yet attempt did it.
Yeah.
Now, there is a criminal aspect of it, or alleged say. There has been a pollution. Cause so this is the your friend is saying, Obi other police for you now, bambano. Now, so Timine and this for Kwashaku Jessica. Endanger national security. That is the aspect people are not looking at. Because the whole IGP no on a police force no timi ko wura kokom and NDC for ko bribona. It means say he can do a lot of things about putting the country in danger. And who can some be responsible? Now who say some na who can who nyina so. Enya atem didie keke na say obi di IGP atema IGP me just so obi di na atema ka say na say onye okay a obetimi di nipa na court. Enti enya atem didi asem na mom nsem na ewuwo no na nsem akoso in the past cry na sanka aban na serious I say na no Canada Japan tape ya na meka ho asem ya be hye atedum ketia ya be hye hwan na sefo no sansem we bia we can even reverse some of these issues because these are criminal verbal rhetorics that were in the past na sefo no but nipa na kan sem we nyina for mo ho di and I think say you see in as much as I respect Obia, yet here there be Obia Canagio. Now what say about transfer cars Obia Crackers and withdraw that. Because I'm not mechano, I speak it responsibly. Imagine one son of my cash and as some minimum whole way, men come once. There be our boy bit miss and no message or can miss me breaking news. And open news to the Bobia. If I come on breaking news, maybe I say, me bow the idea, mammy, I'll analyze. I don't break news. I said, we have my but men come once because never you man or maybe I say me analyzing there. What I say. So I think that these are some of the things that we need to learn. Because yen to be maintenance space, you know, so make can say be and fire windy because maybe do social media no be at so. Yeah. I said you how can one can hear it may trigger a wave of violence. One here. A bit more mine amenem. And you see, these people are jokers. Do you know why? They've forgotten say yeah but to abano. NDC communicator be branch organizer our Kaswa side or can say or you say ombabu IGP atem. And I assign threaten, sir, Papa, we are Greater Accra Regional Minister Koyan. Yes, Henry Kote.
Big Daddy.
That a branch in the prison for 10 good years. Or them for 10. Yes, you're jailing 10 good years under MPP. So, I found your marking. I didn't know your freedom of speech. But it must come with responsibility. You say, this is why I say answer about take a course upon yourself, not snatty. Now you sober reflection, not be some questions because this gentleman make or them 10 years. 10 years so NDC back, but we didn't need order so them. But now he was speaking for NDC. So in some now can penny na so nyansa woman nipa can be amount. And the abronya 7 in some who kwasiake kan out near Masan or can by into Obiahu. And this is a guy over the years, you know. This is the name rising into prominence. Yeah. And yes, some men are bringing that kind of politics. And yes, I'm Kasa, we are kind of man for so. Yes, so. Can these people will even be mentioning them in our politics? Ghana, and you better do a point. I can't Kasa, but then now man for a man fans. Now free so once what do Nina say for them. The first time what about political space, yes, or Kochi, Bianco Bobia. Yeah, that is the origin, you know. Now, Nipan or they win a chance here, he found out the Kobe. That is the question you should be asking. But you have rewarded him as a party by giving him a regional chairman. Yeah. Regional.
Regional, no MP before 11 seats. Anna NDC or one. See, I attribute
as a kawan.
NDC or 11 or no. Where the part?
So these are the people.
Wait.
And in Nemana shall say a caution, Nena Safonum, na young say, Nipana Samna Wakano, you are here. In some way, you know, so me say about TV so channel or Didi Mahama person at Tama. Yeah, president can decide to forgive you because at time there we a leader, you need to have a tough skin and so forth. But when you venture into a realm, there was security implications. I am not sure say John Mahama back so be didn't attempt I'm not sure. What I say because we a leader, some of these things some of the inconveniences that come with it. And President Mills and never more the Kruma say. How the ordinary would call it, never more the no. So it's not about say we didn't panatem. Now, some now cano our criminal connotation. Our alleged bit me incited violence because yet your mind as a IGP could a bribe. Now you know Cressa will kaya or China or could command the police now on Betiano. The authority crown will bring it to way. So I think that we must be guided in as much as I advocate people should feel free and speak their mind because I say way the church of mine. We must also know our limits. And you who can for say can sebno sebaya yanko kan sama ye ni hu nyina so na semba omfra ya ya ba ye hwan ni hwan ni what so ye hero yi and na wo kwabai why a mute now your friends say wo run the court koba ni nyina because of the why judge ni could have given you bail but ohewa abraba wo dey start here about doing that
obesa akwachi jan
because sometimes it's not about peculiar case until obinya asem na lawyers defend na ya kasa oye first offender nanka de onye wo life previous nka de why the judge na tena so no hu de why nyina say o nya papa
na menka say da bia meka say amamu nya de aye na okokom enye ente se bayi anadwo 12 o'clock na ebinu masora koya de choma beda the course ho bi anim Mamuo is something that is supposed to be transparent, and Obia or Mainum Bia should at any point in time, so who the akoso. People must understand, no more follow track of event and development I akoso. Because one yes, one kasa utu amena. So Bakaya 2016, John Mahama Owusu power kotene fiansa na nipa bibiri hu niema bia oyeye.
That's right.
Because communication wasn't flowing. Enti se ubu amanya you have to drag the people along. Sabe ya manfo be hu. Na no na meka say we build the walls around it. A manfo be build the cynicisms. Because I don't know, you're operating in a vacuum.
That's right.
That vacuum, no people will fill it with their own stories, with their own creation, and that cynicism will develop into propaganda. Propaganda ever destroy all government and also won't provide information. So we are Amaya. One of the most effective tools as we use to communication, especially this modern era, the new media are taking over center stage. Everybody a producer of news and a consumer of news at the same time. One creating news, they will create their own news. And so about a few days ago, join news for the Webi Babon since a month for clear excavators from midnight. You see, they circulated that particular time for Abimu. It is a President Mahama clarifies then at time for Abimu.
Okay.
But as a responsible media has what you could have done, they say then you cross check. Say nipa na more information, then in reporting you add say who's a man for clear excavators midnight. Your friend minister no bisano wamayimu until we assume say but the whole message was crafted to make government complicity look quite obvious. Said they were doing it under the cover of the sun.
That's right.
But the clarity that the president gave, at the day, at the still here. So,
I'm falling flat.
Yes. And President Mahama wouldn't one of his strength communication.
Very well.
Until one leverage that advantage, now what's an asema for bugu then that is your own one or two amena. What are some American? So I think that is very important. And also a deep in good governance. Because my culture is a governance. The mere fact that binum doesn't mean say we are senior saying in our team.
Wow.
You must always your friends saying connect, engage, get interactive. It's about the feedback you get, and it's about guide am away the way. And it's one of the reasons that I'm for 12 Betty Akufuado. Basa. Because you call for the last 4 years. Na omejina ye nim enkan kire ye say amanfo mbisa na question because abraboboni ya na odi oman na bono there was no way he was going to answer any question ye ni ba ye hoso not Al Jazeera okay
that's right
not BBC BBC ni no bisa no question kwa na ne buofo nya na obabo no because abrabobo ne o moteso no u bisa no ho asem enye and saa ne ma no kosoa ma de abesisi ye enti as part of the campaign promise that President Mahama make here no na only any other option than to open the door for Ghanaians. Yes, but yeah, man for bisa question na clarity explanation bia wo bia no so no what the ama because nipa advantage you know in this particular thing is the government of the day. Or you are giving clarity and Mahama as a good communicator and sometimes the information nipa expecting you can even dish out more to satisfy people and it will distill these propaganda and the grounds for cynicism and as a forum and exactly what happened. But you see, the most important aspect of this whole engagement among for morning call questions in a center on two areas: accountability and galamsey.
That's right.
And that tells you say Ghana for are following keenly event I happen our mamaimo. Alaska, there be a mekasa one of the reasons I Ghana for Gina Sokotoaba and yeah because of anything. Because they wanted people to be held accountable. Because now we can catalog episode of corruption across Okroma Kronoa. Are so dirty, are so filthy, and it was so palpable to the sense that you can even feel and touch it. The individuals who were pursuing these criminal activities, you know, were people very close to the corridors of power. Ghana for Bufuye, and in one accord, they rose during the election day and the overwhelming authority, my President Mahama said, we are giving you this power, go after these criminals and make sure that you pursue them, even if to their grave, Ghana, we want to see these people being held accountable. Alaska, Rabbi, and it has been back and forth for Anna Yababedru. So the question Ghana for Bisana said, baby Bedri, what is the way forward? Because you see, there is something I think is getting a bad narrative where Yabaka found to me. Giddy media press only Yadnekwana and Adjoni Yakofano creating a whole lot of drama.
That's right.
After a week, I wouldn't mean them the fear as a normal person, not as if nothing has happened. Yet, why Yakofo before. Na drama gigi awu na attorney general by press conference national service and the chair domo court no once yamba docket in ready into ba kan yeden. So you see a basa na public confidence become quite shaky because young to abano now there was this narrative where man for say NDC and MPP they are the same thing we be we are now we be so that is the narrative Ghana for expect to say this new government will change. And one to me and prosecutor among for nothing will convince Ghana Nisa when you pay. Let's hope I am Ghana Daniel and Senabro sign. Na yan tobas magana ni bia Alaska. Say we got all the crack to back what tobas him. Ghana for will not be satisfied. They want accountability.
That's right.
So I think that is baby a President Mahama work to make the difference. To strike that balance, the NDC and the MPP are not the same, and that we are ready to pursue these people. And me, that particular energy now or revival, you know, yes, or catch Ghana for say, nipa na muhu say from mo ko back, you know, yes, a temporary way, and a moment it doesn't mean say you jaya mo. I think we should be able to, you know, revive that conversation because that is one of the most important thing Ghana for ahead. And now, me catch it out. National Service. I have over about 230 documents in my possession.
230.
Alaska. Me say it's so dirty. Me nim say you say the obi kwa adwuma me say yambokro no and white collar crime no. Ye nyina ye nim sometimes you know people are very intelligent, so smart say they operate with finesse. It will take maybe after 10 sometimes 15 years for before, you to but these people are so unintelligent to the sense that crime no more committing no crime. They don't even know how to commit these crimes. So unwitty minded. So unintelligent. Alaska National Service kobokro no. Na babies. Who the babies dini nkura mu ni 1 year. Na wase so mu din da sheda kon wo mo dama wo be yes ade we.
Oh so they are not about over thousands babies.
Alaska me say National Service Secretary National Scholarship Secretariat conducted forensic audit report mintimi endorse mintimi kan kire buy no more create scholarship no mo dey see no more create short courses and no more run as I buy be on fan gift you award na
gift you award yes
ke say chrono tantan bi enu ho a e course so and MPP government are no nka ho Oni ni kunu say ye flight say ye koba ne na Ghana ne yetimi e work ye process obi visa man e wo UK ye say priority working and TLS fee e nkwa ye 400 million per head.
Hey!
On top plane take it o. Yeah, work UK embassy anya ne 10 amount. Meti hai when you are applying to your friend say for UK visa. Na say e visit na wo ya normal process no wo more than 2,500.
Hey!
Yes, 400 million per head. And a ya kwati a company. Yourself friend Vibe Consult Education Consult. Now Mrs. Ankrofon do mo ye. Alaska these are things Ghana for tia nimu. Yet kroma na software bo aban kutu pa mo mudi esika kutu amana.
That's right.
Ekobu passport office to go ye. Ebubu a software dan to go ye. A judges are dan. E ma judge ba kokra de ahontie. E jaya adwuma kotena fie. These are the harsh realities. So we cannot just be making it business as usual. And no today nothing happens. And you see, Attorney General yes so much fixated on something we call plea bargaining. Alaska, you see, historically, that plea bargaining concept in any criminal jurisprudence are flawed, and it's argued say undermine justice. Do you know how it emerged? In America, in the 19th century, that was when this whole plea bargain, your friends, a concept emerged in a criminal jurisprudence. And what happened was that at the time, you know, America for that they had a case loader, a dog so court on some there and yet cases ketwa. Then prosecutors and your friends saying defended and who say okay, let us start negotiating. Now some of the cases, you know, a sobete na yen decongested court, your friends saying prison and as a form consem no dorsum. Until later, and your friends saying Commonwealth, a common law jurisdiction, as we adopted that particular way, a core and a global concept. So I am saying this to tell you, sir, fundamentally, no, a flawed in terms of a passive justice. Wow. And it was a solution to a problem and a money introduction by somewhere in the 19th century.
So it shouldn't be something we should adopt.
And as a young rely on. Now, last guy, you see, we are smarter, you know, sir. The Bena, your first plea bargaining concept was introduced into our law. 2022.
That's right.
No, Attorney General. And today he's the one defending the same criminals, and they are going for the same plea. So we are smarter. You should know, sir. They saw it, sir. So let us create a window. Somebody told the idea. And we are Attorney General.
To be revoking that because we have the numbers.
No, not even having the numbers. Attorney General any discretion to say or take it plea bargain. Not that particular. Yes, you can. They say on negotiate with whoever that is the accused, you know. Then a court of competent jurisdiction, a judge anymore now will determine say negotiation no more than media to and as a mention to.
Okay.
Yes, sister, be you are winning. Sabra Manfasha said Jim Ponchini. Can you trust the system to do this thing? So I'm saying this to tell him, sir. His physician on plea bargaining, you know, that concept in Ankasa fundamentally is flawed.
That's right.
And Ghana for at this time, no, they are not ready to accept anything. No. Now last time I be ura studio ha. Me ba na ma fa laptop, na ma fa we ni ma wi ni nyina de ko, na police abeche me. Ya ba wo say you negotiate, me fa nema 5, wo de me de 3 beba. I don't say my best father I could be me YouTube channel be media Jessica after 5 years, and I'm say Merited to was it with the Fabra and Sato? It doesn't make sense. You understand? So I think Ghana questions now about President Mahama soon say Ghana for have become increasingly frustrated with this oral thing because it was one of the first thing that the NDC administration setting up and look at the traction that it gained on social media. People were happy. But my catch was Ghana for no I'm a papa, but one a panacea nipano movie they will never be satisfied. Because you named your basic, yes, and see, no quanya. A better opportunity for other people who get opportunity to be in power to come and continue the same thing. What I say. So is the reason why all the questions not centered on Saora. Accountability and then as a forum. And it's good the president reaffirmed and reiterated his commitment to say, indeed, he will pursue those matters. And I'm saying, sir, failure to do so, no, you fail to do so at your own peril. Because and 1990 and then enye 1994 na Ghana for politics ase na ye de oh ukofi kese ma me na no yo sono ni me na no yo chinie sa ne ma no enye politics biem young people will look at development options ne ne ma whatever and that is be the sole basis of their decision and I am fire emotions enye politics biem entin sam no amam for say they want accountability and making sure me I don't support witch hunting.
That's right.
Alaska obi e we ye sika de entin na wo to wani na hwe wuntumi case ya. We don't even know where it is going.
That's right.
Because since he left, and there hasn't been any communication, any update. And yes, I understand that behind the scenes something is going on. But to the average and the ordinary Ghanaian in China, no na dream no.
Until say President Mahama Bemaye who say
something is going on.
That's right.
You understand? So I think that it is not always about say the criminal justice system no yes some way be you should also know that it is part of a larger governance architecture and governance in the womb you need to sustain and build their trust have your confidence in amamuna econo. So I think say President Onwa who say Ghana for you very much frustrated about this whole thing. That is why I mean so much enthused about the abroad back and forth.
That's right.
It's in the case, you know. Yes, okay, can't pass I be any but Alaska I will yet there misdemeanor. So me delay cartoon for 2 weeks here and now it's unnecessary. You create unnecessary drama. Because I come for Casino movie is tete ho.
That's right.
And then police for bear almost bear 50 the dia bronya chinam say anasabi on the call or Osama bin Laden ho kra no mo to the first bomb we ya. E ga police for be dinachi.
That's right.
It's unnecessary drama. What I say and me not in studio ha kan ya bra Oliver Baka yes Vama the same thing omo ye no ye fe ama governor no hwan.
That's right.
Me media ne say issue a free say enkosi hwe no don't waste your energy following. Makacho say me ya abanya the very moment I just say me be fa Alaska no now you should be thinking about 10 years.
So onyama.
Yes. It's me fa na me fa wo.
Who feel say abronya so dia why no I was so man now why
exactly. Pana pass una dia man.
Titi say na woman no to na ye 4 years apa abronya for 4.
Unnecessary drama no wakati ni nyina o deserve prison pa na wo dia man no. Now no untumi journalist.
That's right.
You create drama for almost 1 month abrante no wan fa ne. Until if you
say what done so for.
As a court no wan what court asem biem.
Ya che dey obeba.
You see, I think these are some of the things who say, in as much as we think that we are doing the right thing, there are people involved who are very smart, who are very intelligent, who are following. And Alaska, there, then is we are buying a man for support to say prosecutor. We are
serious.
What will be that?
That be.
Who are about power? A man for say, yes, support to prosecute a man for. All that you have to do is to go ahead and prosecute people.
When even the former chief justice issue by almost take his opinion poll.
Yes.
Ghana force a
yes.
Prosecute.
Yes.
So what are you waiting for?
There is no government when your power why enjoy tacit endorsement of the people of this country than this Mahama government.
That's right.
And then man for say supreme or your supreme leader. A chiro level abandada na the Ghana for koduru ye. And I think that this is opportunity for us. I ever set near money na obia na Alaska obi yetimi ma obi scholar na me catch raw ya makwaku scholarship. Na ya catch say kofi kofa wo yere bra. Na yere so o ya o ma for. Na ya se kofa mo nyina bra. Na ya bom modern sisa wo yere na o ma for no nyina kogu UK na ye tu obi aka bosome.
Wo na wanya scholarship no. Near the yere no ma account every month we near tua o moka.
Ye tua wo yere na o ma ka.
We no ni niam was ye bie so.
Na Alaska uwia na kwabrane be market achi ono na yere na anya scholarship oto hwa ne bokati ommo bra bia o man no tua ne ka oto UK no. Wanya kokodura for pen paper travel letter DSA scholarship secretariat. I have a family emergency. I want to come to Ghana to go and settle my family issue. So please buy ticket for me.
Now matter.
Yeah, and I saw mine no too good. Mine no sika ehu de mfanya. Na mine ato plane ticket dia koma kwabrane na batinka tinkati ommo bra bia ono no ne yiri sua de nti yetua ne ka. No watwa plane ticket hu no aba Ghana. Na wabaye ne family your friends meeting we are near central plane ticket am no de ko. These are issues attitude books man for person attorney general pursue. Not abronye. Yes. Not abronye issue. We cannot waste much time and then deny the bail. There misdemeanor. I think that this energy must be channeled to these areas. And that is what Ghanaians want to say. Alaska Cathedral. Oba on mine sika 51 to 50 something million that kutu amana.
Now 97 million
US
dollars.
Na asofo de akire mu minim katu na nyame na akasa akire we say be heaven garden ne chese nsem hunu nko a ejeje ya first a monthly salary akese.
Anya na do again nim say you are so farm robbers we Ghana how.
Me say criminals in Kasok. And omo aye sa niam we nyina adena kobaka obi anu aye bisa na sem.
I pray.
Yes.
I pray.
As if someone odi Yesu ko school. Kasa as if someone hear Yesu school. Omo ton this guy. Alaska. I think that you see we need to get serious. Remember the say some of these minor cases, you know, yes, it's good. There are ways I able to find, especially in the social media. Man for to we din se munu bebre, and I like it. Say government people mo who say what na kan kwase say be nsema nsem huna. Government the state is watching you. It is not say a state a crack down on freedom of speech, because freedom of speech must also come with a responsibility. But remember the say government should not waste its energy going after some of these petty cases.
That's right.
There are bigger cases sitting in books. As a yeka, a national service issue way. Abaya ya yeka na semi da so na mo ene GFA want to abama na appointed GFA
ya member.
Yes. GFA. This is the person otimi kofa merwafo a omodi 94 years. Yes, national service. Na Ghana has here 94 years national service. Omudi won kratam.
When you're 94 years, by 94 years, no soon national service.
National service. Alaska krono akese ya akoso ene sa switchi ya faso abo minor cro. And I say corruption we no ye kase ye biema ye nwie na. The last time na lawyers bi no already no mo ye de kind of for ye be activate. Me betena wa video so catch us say as long as Ken continue to play I am sick card, nobody can bring him to Ghana.
That's right.
Me catch it out. Me boy. Ken of Rata wa infa.
And that's all.
Good. So you see these are things Ghanaians want answers. Governance, you know, sometimes when you're careful, I may say there is a thin line between hate and love. Oh.
That's right.
Always, you know, you spend your time to tilt the balance and as a control the balance. One way you net to say, or home by your time rough. And I think government need to identify these things. And the other side, I galam say, Alaska, I know so Ghana for me, I agree perfectly with President Mahama when he says, distraction has gone on for 8 good years.
That's right.
You don't expect say some magic wine to be can open sesame and then all the lands will close. No, it's not true. But I also believe say government will have to introduce stringent, effective measures that are biting.
Exactly.
Because it is a fact. A man for once someone krata kugu enguromo muturu. Dodo na ye because ya buy na aba.
That's right.
MPP for no free nguram na ndisi for akuguram.
But for now, crowd the me and say NDP before the Wuska for now. So NDC for ni be a use political power at this
yes.
And the MPP ni tifie. And no this ka wuram na NDC.
Oh, they are not buying banu
two. Yes. And at the end of the month and another day no MPP ni tifie but when resource no when you sika dia bebe tu no. Ujimi.
And Alaska you see the funny aspect of this whole thing they say Galamsey fight and are you successful or not successful? The verdict and lie with the government, with the people.
Exactly.
For Ghana for the because people pass verdict on him. And I know a land minister here something very important about this LI. I don't know kukudura tam de ko akoma attorney general say you make sure say we revoke it.
Exactly.
But one of the way na man for can was so I think say yes within 8 months and your magic things will turn around. But I think say we need to establish certain baseline conventional deterrence measures. Everyone we NDC new, we MPP new. Galamsey no a no go area.
That's right.
Now you making sure say a man from Bewuram no are prosecuted. Alaska say amenoka say under Akufo-Addo time. 92.3. Aye professor from Pomwatin or what documents are nipa din wom, evidence wom, ni niema wom. Why are we not even prosecuting these people?
That's right.
Because failure to prosecute them no will lend credence to the fact that we so bad the same thing.
One was a nice recently the general secretary of the NDC can say the lawyers of the NDC any MP before Cathy deals.
No, Entino, that is the responsibility of the I know what you mean about Beka, but to the average Ghanaian no until
and find home.
And find home. So I know that they are going to judge your government based on all these things. So you need to rise to the occasion and make sure, say, nipa, because galamsey is one thing. Hey, your poison so na any men this in any men people.
That's right.
Yenina na yeku ya hon, your kidney, your liver, and essay. And the state, you know, must endeavor to make sure, say, no go area, high risk venture. Nobody would dare to go in. You understand? So Sanya money nyina koswa, and no na buy no betimi say yes, may ye be. Me di sigalam say, but man for feel comfortable say you ya buy na so a substitution. Ebinumu kofi na ebinumu bewurama. I am not sure say your friend say e ade a ese yeso so okroma say. So Alaska, I think say their course is an eye opener.
Right.
Our government be who the position with the people. Not Ghana for so who position with the government. I know the day, you know, the judgment with the people of this country. But I'm saying, sir, the last leg of Ghana democracy, so this Prez Mahama government.
That's right.
Say Ampulia and no. Because don't forget, say, around countries no more, you know, Yenu no more koku, amodosu. So what I say? And I could for the mamu boni obebu and kaka craving Ghana kokan ho. Because people were freely saying on radio, say, cool cry is better than what we were witnessing. Until Prez Mahama came in, and things started picking up. So I think that we need to do things just to ensure, say, you bet me, I'm for a nyahu say, yes, governance and democracy can sustain us. You bet me, things right. That is the only thing that will save us.
Right. That was Ivan Kyei Innocent, a researcher and a youth activist. Agro.
Oh, yes. Alaska, who was vice president of this country for 8 good years. Onwa Banasu to be the role in the Akufo-Addo government.
That's right.
That was the economic front. Since Ghana independence, if there has been an era, our Ghana economy has suffered humiliation, and that period, and now they manage that economy. And the statistics are quite obvious. Sometimes they try to manufacture certain nonsense by telling you, say, Ukraine, Russia war, then as a form, COVID, then as a form. But what's the period? The Sika ba krum ha pa na COVID time.
That's right.
Enti se Bawumia ye in charge of all these things, and under him, yet minya inflation man koya could do somewhere 54. 54. In the history of this country, na ben kai the last time you who at the bisa. Wouldn't say they were quite a bomb my pie hyperinflation.
Very well.
Second World War, because of hyperinflation, because Germany was going through the same problem. And Adolf Hitler, on Germany, from Austria, and now can be the problems in the state at the time, ultimately exploit or the Germany did So hyperinflation is one of the most dangerous things I bet me to mind, but we suffered it. Alaska. It got to a time a sovereign country like Ghana na yen tumi nkwa abonten ko bobosia because ya bossa bia nkwasi abosia abonten ama wo ba na obi aye o ai na your credit rating was so dirty. All the credible rating agencies around the world, Fitch, Moody's, S&P, they all downgraded us. Now you have junk status. If we are not China neighbor Kromania then Kreman say Germany ambassador about Kromania then Kreman say Uncle Sir China for morning kitten now yen China ni kahanan ka po bi achawo. Uncle Paul mo chaw ma say kana yede no. Omo ma ye mere.
But serious.
And near man si wo krom ha. Your friends, Ghana is a proud nation. Young call for IMF. There been Prez Mahama na lazy. And anything or call IMF. Ya ni ba ho so ye call IMF no na ye the ambulance people and not to say the ambulance akofa wi.
Akoya wi.
Until we the ambulance and they call Ghana na no them to IMF. So this is the track record of this gentleman called Bawumia. So Alaska to start with. Yes, or a politician, obetimi make all the promises and I cannot fault him. But the most significant thing to do is to go on his knees and apologize to the people of this country for messing this country up. For the trust and the confidence Akufo-Addo reposed in him and Ghanaians as well. But he's behaving as if say nothing has happened. He's a new person and then he's bold enough among for your t-shirt catch us I can't repair. Alaska sometimes you see I dream no be high or form. Oh yes. Alaska 9 in percentage form 9%. I translated to over 2 million votes. In the history of this country, I bind being who was suffer such a humiliating defeat. Now I am a simple I can't repair.
As you said, as you said, 41.
Me say 9 na ye kan ho asem no is the biggest humiliation in recent times will be a suffer under this the Fourth Republic. And this to make it look like say 9 aka 9 pe no, you are just trivializing o mo ke wan kasa wo ho. But you see Ghana no, people don't sit down to do deeper analysis some of these issues because 2 million voters am na ye kan wo. So 9 pen na ye t-shirt a ye sa aka 9 pen no, 2 million voters around 2 million 1.8 million. That tells you say the people we are dealing with no are not serious people. They don't even Anamakacha say they are still living in the 12th century. They are in the past and are all present. And they are struggling to identify themselves with what is happening.
So, Titi politics
yes, because they are living in their own way. Or more creating a certain phantom world. Be a team. Sa 12th century no more adwene so ye te asante afi kasiem o de te soro no nyina ye osono de te ase ye osono ye sa anse buru na twam. That is why Okokuma said no vote no free hoba no esesa no. Because young people want to assign their vote to a reason why I should vote for you. But these people are not getting it. But me promises ben one make no now dollar no crowd also didn't set them out safa come IGP no you couldn't even keep that promise. Now a free zone now you first say you better keep with that promise. Dam now so why na kwakosi saying do call no for ni nua no mo ho no omunya ye fan saying dam e de irrigation ho e de do omo nema
Kwalugu dam
millions of dollars ashiagu. Alaska, we need to get serious. That is why sometimes I get so angry when some of these jokers take over the political as a moody ahofewo. Because I think some young people are increasingly interested in politics, you know. Some politicians will tread with some decorum, not a more treaty with certain modicum of respect. We are not dealing with a bunch of ignorant people in the 90s anymore. We are dealing with young, intelligent people who can read and write, analyze, and make informed choices out of everything. So, I'll be calm na matieno. But Alaska, why no wapa ho chawo because you couldn't do any of these things. Ghana's economy suffered the biggest humiliation ever in the history of this country. Unyanya kukodro apologize here. It got to a time the vice president ayedene bass on the economic messiah fe na yakofana free China de na ba obabe ye economy amaye no. Ewie na onka economy asembiem. Owie no nam digitalization. Na internet na Wi-Fi enti ene we have na why na or the Wi-Fi na ye I na Wi-Fi. O na nke economist there. One your friend saying we saying when was the last time and while he was vice president he was still giving lectures how economy can be stabilized. What a joke.
Serious.
What a joke. We before no and now my lecture say yam fama na Ghana for their mom. We have vice president economy na Titi pansam no. There was a mayor like lecture that you need a lecture. We don't need a lecture. But they don't understand the gravity of issues. And I'm making a margin say 1990 politics na ya obetiatia o suno anachi ni o sane amam for the to aba. There be sane money nyina asesa. Entinanka I was suspecting say obe realize this. Na watimi a reposition ne ho na wapa Ghana for acha say me begu manim ase. Munya kokodro de tumi ma me. Sa dollar na me bo ho by man tumi na this time round there me better nche no masua bibi enti me ba maye no foforo me boa that is what you do. But they are pretending nothing has happened. Even the political party Ukraine is behaving like Owusu power. MPP today is behaving like Owusu power. But they forget say na anwa da no ufra ban mu do call.
That's right.
And then me social media abronya they already my can condemn me. But these people, besides, do they even have the moral authority to even criticize this thing? Because I know me catch the NDC na brand here. I say also about IGP. Omo jailing no 10 good years.
That's what Adam Kanewu.
Yes.
Okay.
Oliver. Me madam for.
Oliver Vama.
Yes. No crime nyina na say amam for to galam say nsuo. Ana or your friends a demonstration ye che no ye deny the bail on several occasions. Now or yarana they have to move him to a hospital.
Me say Mensa Thompson of Asepa Equatorial say President Nanado Ede aye private jet no.
Yes.
Presidential jet Ede fa ni ma eco holidays wo Dubai Nana bi odaye Everyone on Facebook was saying he must be arrested. Almost detaining for 1 week.
So I'm saying, sir, those of us here, because we have been very consistent, we can criticize here, we can criticize here, but these people have no moral authority. You don't have it. Because and ya per era ya terrorize a man for to social I'm telling you, within this last 8 years, Alaska nipo mwayira o kroma because of social nungwa haya wirafi.
Oh, that's right.
Omo nam sunya omuwo na ada wirafi ameswale. I did the same thing oda sunya di. Kennedy Japan wage war on him and made sure that guy killed and he was killed.
This guy, one teacher kwejo.
Yes.
Not our Ghana Education Service. Or just go na school be also say anyway na. On the two social
me I mean kwa analysis asem si na ne 1990
exactly
graphic page 3 your friend has no. So I don't do retroactive justification, but the fact of the matter is that me know the moral justification to tell Ghana Police Service the omode ya abro nyene nsem aburo so onku nipa but one na we MPP now what say abonte no, do you have the moral right? You don't have it. Because that is the same thing. Now we would to me and you tell her catchers and say, who are moody. And the question here say, who show me power, me show power.
That's right.
And you can't complain.
And the Obibe said the same way na you sticking out the two horn. So now we say
yes. And we will be away and said, can you even step out of protesting?
No.
Because Oliver Baker are fresh in our memory.
But I'm not catching so but unim MPP unim say Akpalu. Akpalu demo almost 2 weeks new. Once MP before protesting. Just a new because of your Igweni.
Yo, and there, more Muslim. So Alaska, the fact of the matter, say, near money, that is why I say, let us start from a clean slate. Now you build the Ghana na engender trust, I build the confidence. I'm the economic fortunes of the average and the ordinary Ghanaian. Aye na Ghana ni sorry, I'm fan back is me call UAE.
That's right.
Akwa bobra no mo kwa do mo form enya de keto na Ghana ni be feel proud. Na no make catch obi say within a period of 8 months. Sasa me jam fit meet na gold board. Et me raise 6 billion na e chere sika wo krom ha say. Are they lucky a prudent management of your resources? I am saying that Abrantia only a Juma Crown state near the near Maya. We can pay everybody even 5,000 Ghana cedis a month. We can do it.
Exactly.
Sika Okroma say. So all that the conversation must gear towards and say, Yam Fanya near Maya, now yam building a certain lifeline be for Ghana. They was economy, no, as I say, grow. But these people are just trying to trivialize the whole thing and make it look like say, Omo hu hia chen obia.
That's right.
But sa arrest ya e koso ya kasati ya. Ope time esi ne kase ya. Ayaku for the time. And there are a lot of victims. A lot of victims.
To make catch him for sorry original tiam.
Nya no kra and I take my radio station almost shut it down.
That's right.
But when Wound to Me radio was shut down recently, we sat here and we condemned it as any man in some hu hia. What I say? Journalists ni na se for ohene babo ama. Den no man fa anya no.
Ohini babu ama yusu obi video edi make analysis omo edit here ejeli Abrante
ya friend say Abrante we omo friend say former we say no oya adwuma kra Bobi Ansa o ni radio so ni atwa ne ho ahia so who yes anema na moral right ni justification be na wo to rise today and I make say we see our position must be very consistent. So today you and I can sit here proudly and condemn these things
right.
without looking back because we have been very consistent. But can you do so? So I think that you see comedy no ya dosun sa agro no e dosun dodo ba umia still am say loose na o loose ya no enyam free na dwenim enti na dwema ni hey
I say
I ni hey
tiewe mame
Vice President Dr. Bawumia Bonabaso achira de ampa kama oti ase yi amisha Bawumia Bonabaso Vice President Dr. Bawumia Bonabaso otu ena
ko election we na o package otonma ye it is no wa back now catch wanye we is it about your interest and answer the interest of the state but
Kennedy dey ma dey kan answer much rather Alaska ba asem na o kan ye no kre
that's right.
The message Kennedy Japan is giving out is true. Akufo-Addo gave Bawumia a free ride and he publicly declares that me economy there Amam so.
But Osi Baumia you good.
And so ni good no say hunsun so obekan good wa. Wo ono no aka ne de wo na interpretation beto so. So ni good no hunsun so na yete ha yi. Good no ye no and 38% na yete has ya Ghana for economy de koduru ye.
Good better.
So you cannot take these people serious. That is my point. And I'm reiterating the fact say Akufo-Addo indeed gave Bawumia every opportunity. Oko function introduce the we are nyansa nyina na ye de ama no ono ankasa kra no oka che we are nyansa no no oni bi o nyame ama ni bi
Aruna na do ni
wa sesa ni nyina de ama Bawumia enti oba be ye economy no ene na economy ni jonkolize ye we na de omo nyina konso omo tiem no omo wo omo nan economy ni de omo so here we are today. So Alaska, these people must understand say Ghana enye 1990 biem
tie we ma
ena ye ni 12th century biem
tie
Bawumia ni o Bawumia no Yakubonde yase agwinyina asenu wa shada ayo paper Bawumia ni o Bawumia no Yakubonde yase agwinyina asenu wa shada ayo paper
na say Nyankopon de wiase nyansa nyina hye wadwem na betete economy pansam ne sense ka Nyankopon ama wadwere ne bi de ne say analyze assess nema. So I think say ade e be boa Dr. Bawumia ne say amametana anya video bi say amanfo nya vice president de ko mo anim no ono Owusu ne time nya di femi gu ne ho anim ase anka wo ase
exactly
because Mills was vice president otimi rise ya ba ye president meboa and several other people that you can mention. Mahama himself was a vice president. Bawumia ba ye vice president opportunity to me nyina wa the second gentleman no the nipa ye o wi so di gu nanim ase bi o ye di gu nanim ase
asa oh dear sir
na obi a development dey can say yes toilet am na mudi wi am ben na ye didi wi ayekoda and ye didi wi ayekosa. Alaska, I think say he has to go on his knees and apologize to Ghanaians first and sana anything bia o ha wa ba beka na sa promises na na ma okeka ne de ni nyina na ehrudo hurada sem politics na ye cheap no bia keka na ye de e na meka say MPP na nkasa na ye party a ba bi o mote sese no Nyankopon ko ananim party na bubu asre na abasa and they have not realized it because omunima ngombe take any step to rebuild the party and make sure say more competent people will be brought forward. Say a leading party no na yense the face of the party but not these people because omunyem hu sa na money na yen number bia yen nam ya o they think everything is okay but Ghana for are watching keenly see how things are going to play out.
Right, that was Ivan Kyei Innocent. This takes us to 19 minutes to the top of the fight.
Where we give our views and our views do not go through any filtration but straight and direct. And I have in the house today my son. And we're going to have a very, very interesting discussion. We're looking at the Constitution. Two aspects of it. One of the things we're talking about lately is the dismissal of the Chief Justice and all the flag that has come about after that. And also this so-called third term issue with John Dramani Mahama. We'll talk about it. But let me welcome my son in the studio, Ivan. Welcome back, man.
Thank you very much.
Ojaba. No, not the pastor. You're the original one.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
Oh, by His grace, I'm doing good.
Fantastic. The issue that people are talking about lately a lot, of course, is Chief Justice issue. Yeah. Your take?
Yeah, I think that is a bit of quite an interesting development. And now the Chief Justice has officially been removed by the President per the provisions of Article 146. And there has been a lot of talk about, but for me, I think we've had previous discussion on this particular subject, and I told you my views. First of all, if you narrow the whole conversation down to the removal of the Chief Justice, you might be making a big mistake. So let me draw you back to some of the circumstances that has prevailed in the past. We were ushered into a very radical awakening in our judicial system when people lost trust, confidence in the institution called Judiciary. The Judiciary is supposed to be one of the foundational institutions of our democracy because the entire democracy is premised on state institutions, and the Judiciary, the executive and the legislature are the most crucial one. So you cannot create or have a situation where confidence and public trust in such sensitive institution is a bit shaky and wavering. So that is the background we're coming from. And this was brought about by some quote-unquote unwitty political decisions which were made, and some appointments into the judiciary, predominantly into the Supreme Court, where individuals known to be affiliated to political parties were appointed to the Supreme Court. These are individuals, yeah, they have the qualification, they have everything, but the optics of it, I've told you that we are dealing with human beings, not machines. Not these human beings have emotions, they reason, they see things. When you handpick somebody who is a field parliamentary candidate of a political party and appoint him to the Supreme Court, considering the kind of politics that we do here, you break public trust and confidence. And that's exactly one of the things that the former president did. And again, if you look at some of the rulings that in recent times have come from the Supreme Court, you begin to wonder whether those decisions actually do really came from a Supreme Court or not. Because some of the rulings were devoid of common reasoning, logic, common sense. The poverty of logic and intellect in some of the rulings.
Like which ruling?
For instance, we were told that to prove your citizenship as a Ghanaian, you need a passport. But your birth certificate cannot be used as a primary document.
In our country, being born in Ghana doesn't make you a citizen of Ghana.
So if I hold a birth certificate duly issued by a state institution in Ghana, Registrar of Births and Deaths, and it states nationality Ghanaian, are you saying that that is not enough proof of the nationality of the bearer of that certificate?
May I answer you this way? If you had an English person come and live in Ghana and have a baby in Ghana, that person would have a birth certificate. But that person's record of the parents on that birth certificate would indicate that they are not Ghanaian. So the certificate is a record of where he was born. It is not an indication of the citizenship.
Passport, a traveling document. You only procure it when you are about leaving the country. If you are not traveling, I'm not sure people will make it their business to go and procure a passport. So it is a traveling document. But if there is any particular document that is primary, and that can link to where you actually come from, that should be the birth certificate. Because at the hospital where we are, we don't just give citizenship to people because you've been born in the hospital. They will have to trace to who your parents are, where they come from, before it will be indicated. So at birth, if that primary document cannot confirm and ascertain somebody's citizenship, and we all know that to procure a passport, you will need that primary document that has been jettisoned to get that particular passport. So these are some of the conversations that people were having in town, and some of these things drill down to the confidence level that people have in the judiciary.
Are you talking about when the what do you call that thing? Your birth certificate was ruled as not sufficient evidence?
Yes, to prove your citizenship. But rather, that could have been a legitimate grounds. But when you cite passports instead of birth certificate, then you create a whole lot of confusion in the minds of people. So that triggered a level of confusion that people, and the sort of bastardization that went on various media platforms. And again, some of the rulings that were filtering out of the Supreme Court, I'm quite sure you are aware of this unpopular characterization that people assigned to the judiciary: unanimous 11, unanimous 4, unanimous, because the judiciary was virtually predictable. People could sit down and see this is the likely outcome, and indeed, so it got to a point people lost trust, and that endangered the prospect of our democracy. Because in a democratic institution, yes, you can have a shaky legislature. The executive has always been on and off, depending on who is in power, but an institution whose fidelity can never be challenged, whose neutrality, independence, and integrity should never be challenged by anybody, should be the judiciary. But if we get to a time and the public trust and confidence in such institution become a bit shaky, then you know there is a problem. And again, there are a catalog of issues that we can chronicle regarding some of the situations that have popped out from the judiciary, some of the rulings sometimes.
Quick question: was it shaky because judicially or legally the judgment wasn't sound, or was it shaky because of politics?
It was a complex tale of all these things. It was a hostile mixture of politics, unconstitutionality, where individuals think that I'm in power, so I can exert personal influence and personal kind of conveniences instead of the law. And these are some of the realities. For instance, we had instances, there were several instances where political parties took the Electoral Commission to court when they decided to limit registration to district offices. This became quite a contentious issue. Some people within the NDC and other political parties took the issue to court. What was needed at that particular ruling was urgency, immediacy. But the Chief Justice at the time decided not to give a hoot about that particular issue. People went to court even for a date. They were told that the Chief Justice had traveled. Unless she comes, they were not going to give date. These people deliberately sat down for the Electoral Commission to execute whatever they wanted to execute before the date was set for that particular hearing. So the issue becomes moot because whatever you are seeking to prevent has already been implemented. Similar instance has to do with the e-levy, the popular e-levy when it came. Haruna Idrusu and co sent the issue to court. The date was cited somewhere post the implementation of that particular thing. So you see, we have the whole essence of the judiciary is to ensure that sanity prevails in society. We are able to maintain the balance so that people who have aggrieved individuals will not take cutlasses and pursue others, but rather we walk the fine lines of law to settle societal misunderstanding, dispute, in order to fasten our cohesion and integration as one people with a common destiny. But if the judiciary becomes an instrument of terror, where some individual, by the virtue of the fact that they are in power, can use it as a tool to bulldoze their way through whatever that they want.
And you're saying that's exactly what happened?
That's exactly what happened. And sometimes it was an avenue to buy convenience for government. For instance, in this Afenyomakin versus Babin case, you saw the urgency with which the Chief Justice gave a date for that particular hearing. It was Friday. The Supreme Court was known to be an institution. They were not sitting on Fridays. But because of that particular situation, you see, I am not saying that act alone was illegal, but so you feed yourself into the larger public perception of biases, because in the past you've done these things on the other side. When such critical issues come up and people want you to, but at the same time this Afenyomakin issue was heard, don't forget that this LGBTQ issue was on the table and we were finding it very difficult to even get a date for that particular hearing. So all these things fed into the public perception out there, and people did not have trust and absolute confidence in the institution. That brought about the kind of change that people were talking about, because there are instances media houses run popular posts online and people will tell you confidently that, hey, I don't trust the judiciary. Public confidence in the institution were a bit shaky. When you do that as president or as a country, if you don't do anything about such situation, you will endanger the prospect of our democracy. And I think that is why Ghanaians were bent on calling on government to do something about the judiciary. Unfortunately, when John Mahama took power, Ghanaians who have in the past been expressing these legitimate concerns decided to. Let me make a point that the president, or it doesn't matter John Mahama, whoever is president, the president under the constitution of this particular republic of this country has no power to sack any chief justice. That is the constitutional position. But his power of removal only becomes activated when a petition is sent to him to act as stipulated by law. So in this case, John Mahama couldn't have initiated the process removing the Chief Justice, but rather a Ghanaian must submit a petition on a legitimate ground. So we had a petition from 3 different people. They submitted to the president. The president's role in this is to be acting as a conveyor belt. You push it to Council of State to do whatever consideration that they want to do. At the end of the day, the Council of State sat on the petition and they realized that it has substance. and they cannot just trash it, just like President Akufo-Addo trashed it when Professor Kuku-Azan submitted his earlier one, because they felt that the allegations that were cited or the cases that were cited in the petition were of value, and they needed to put it to a judicatory committee to have a look at these issues. And that's exactly what happened. When that credence was established, per the Constitution, the President had the responsibility to set up a committee, which is stated under the same Article 146 that was. Then the President set up a committee that should be that five-member committee, 2 Supreme Court judges, and then 2 other people, judges and staff. So they sat on the matter with a thorough deliberation. At the end of the day, they gave their recommendation to the President, and their recommendation is what we have seen. But in between, the Constitution says that when Council of State is able to establish prima facie, that is merit, that there is legitimate grounds, and for that matter, a committee should be set up, the President enjoys a certain discretionary power conferred on him alone by the Constitution. There is no ambiguity over this particular clause. It says that when the Chief Justice is when the petition is grounded on a substance, and that there is a need for us to set up a committee to investigate, the President has that discretionary power to sign a warrant, either to let the Chief Justice stay pending investigation or let her go. So you realize President Mahama signed the warrant and asked her to vacate her post or sit aside pending the investigation. And John Mahama wasn't the first person to do so. President Akufo-Addo, you remember famous Anas issue when some 4 judges were cited for misconduct and those kind of stuff. When prima facie was established that there is a substance in the case, President Akufo-Addo signed a warrant and suspended these 4 judges. 1 Justice Derry and 3 others were suspended. They were asked to go and sit home until the final investigation.
President Nana Akufo-Addo, on the advice of the Judicial Council, has suspended with immediate effect 4 justices of the High Court. They are Mr. Justice Uta Paul Derry, Mr. Justice Mustapha Logo, Mr. Justice Gilbert Aisi-Ado, and Mr. Justice Charles Quest.
According to a statement issued and signed by the Director of Communications at the Presidency, the suspensions follows the establishment of a prima facie case against the 4 justices by the committee set by the Chief Justice to investigate alleged acts of bribery and corruption against certain persons, including the justices, as contained in the 29th August 2015 petition of Mr. Anas Arimiyao Anas.
When the final investigation was concluded, it was recommended to the President that these people should be sacked, and they were sacked. So what John Mahama has done is never a novelty. It's something that has been in play for long. So for me, I think that there is no single constitutional provision that was circumvented. There hasn't been any constitutional infraction that has occasioned that far. Where the Chief Justice had her own grievances, she went to court, and unfortunately for her, she couldn't win. You understand? So I think the whole constitutional process has been allowed to play out fully, unless anybody has any issue.
There were quite a few issues.
Okay.
Unfortunately, politically, there are quite a few issues that this is a threat to Ghana's democracy.
Yes.
Ghana's democracy has been threatened by this.
Yes.
This decision.
Yes.
And we believe that what is happening undermines our democracy and the rule of law. For the Chief Justice to be singled out for this unfortunate attack, flimsy, pedestrian petition, the Council of State has failed the country. And know that it is your institution that is under attack.
What is your view on that? And those who said that included lawyers who I would assume understand the Constitution and understand law, and they are the first to tell you the law is the law. But they were actually participants of the noise that was coming out. This is a threat to democracy. How do you respond to that?
Yes, I think such arguments are very weak, and it's not grounded on any substance. You see, the argument is that it threatens the prospect of our democracy going forward. So in the wisdom of the constitutional framers, they know that every single position will be occupied by a human being. Human being at any point in time can go off. So they created a window in as much as that particular provision, that particular position is crucial and it fastens the survival of our democracy. They saw the possibility of somebody sitting at the same office and going overboard is the reason why they created a window for removal. And there is no constitution under the sun that gives absolute guarantee to anybody operating under any constitution, not even the president, who is the most powerful person on this land. There is a window for the president removal. So those calling that we need to tighten the constitution so that going forward, nobody will be removed. That is a very weak argument. Why I did not...
It surprised you that it came from lawyers. You're saying it's a very weak argument.
Oh, a very weak argument. Is it?
Does it surprise you that it came from lawyers? And why would lawyers put out an argument that, in your estimation, is very weak?
So you see, when emotions get a better part of your brain, wisdom takes on vacation. And
so their wisdom was on vacation because emotions
and
were a part of them.
By the time it returns, you might have embarrassed yourself in the public, and there is nothing that you can do. You understand? Because you see, the fact of the matter is that if you are arguing that we need to tighten the framework, the frame, so that no Chief Justice can ever be removed. What if in the future you are not lucky and if somebody very tyrannical is placed at that particular position and decide to do things in her own way based on her personal twisted discretion without recourse to law order? What are you going to do? It means that you have imposed the devil on yourself and there is nothing that you can do. So we can never create any constitution that will indemnify somebody's position, that will give that person that power and luxury to do whatever that he wants.
But you know, what would surprise me, that seems to be very basic because I know in the past, you know, when I was trying to get lawyers to help me do stuff with some contracts that I had received, you know, one I looked at the contract and told me there's no escape clause, which means if I sign, I am bound. You know, there must say every constitution must have an escape. This is what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So how can reasonable lawyers be arguing that you should have something so tight that there's no escape?
It's highly unreasonable. And what I'm saying, see, most of them are coming from the past. This radical awakening that the world is exposed to, they are still stuck in the past. They are not ready to grow. But you see, law, constitutions are supposed to be a living document reflecting daily wishes, aspirations. The socio-economic dynamics, the whatever that is happening, you know, must have a reflection on the law. But some people have decided not to update their reasoning and they are still stuck in the past and using previous understanding of what law is supposed to be to interpret what is happening. But there has been a radical awakening. You see, a lot of things are happening. So you cannot create an ironclad position where somebody sits at a position and nothing can be done. Not even the president. John Mahama, there is a window that can be triggered for his removal. It is there. You understand? So the constitutional framers saw the need to do all these things. But you see, all these people are not considering the fact that we can the probability that we can get a good Chief Justice the same way we can get somebody who is not good. So in a situation you have someone who is not good and you've tightened all the barriers, it means that you're going to have a problem. You understand? And the constitutional framers in their wisdom envisaged this possibility and they wanted to cure this particular thing. It's the reason why that particular thing was. I was thinking that all these people out there bastardizing and raising whole of concern or ground their argument in law and argue just like the Chief Justice did. She said, when the president gave gave the petition to Council of State to establish whether there is merit or not, the ruling was not given to her to study. And I'm saying, what ruling? Because the Council of State is not an adjudicatory body. It is a body that is supposed to advise the president. And it is not by force, they are lawyers. There are some who may fortunately be lawyers, some are, but the embodiment, the people who constitute are not lawyers. So it can never be an adjudicatory body who will legally look at issues and say, we have, given a ruling. Council of State don't give ruling. Because if you look at the Constitution, it gives three thresholds within which a Chief Justice can be removed. One is misbehavior, infirmity, both body and mind, and incompetence. These are the three things. So the job of the Council of State is to evaluate the petition to see whether they can situate the petition within these three perimeters. If it does, then the petition is competent. The legal and the constitutional aspect of it must be done by a quasi-judicial team. That is why the Constitution says that after the Council of State job, a proper constitution, adjudicatory body should be given. So if the Chief Justice is arguing that I was not heard, and again, that particular process I've told you is not an adversarial process where some adverse finding can be advanced against you. You'll be accused so that you come and, let's say, to have my side of the story to be heard. That day will be given to you at the committee level. So at this stage is the preliminary stage where the Council of State goes through and establish merit.
So Ivan, bottom line, what went wrong? Why was there such a big fuss about this? You're making it sound like this is a very simple decision.
Yes.
So what went wrong?
I think that nothing went wrong. You see, people are just being mischievous. And if you listen to the various narrative out there, there is one common thread. None of them is looking at the issues which were raised in the petition.
What were they looking at?
So for instance, the gentleman who sent the petition chanced on an audit report of the Judiciary Service. So make no mistake, wasn't the gentleman who actually wrote those findings. The Ghana Judicial Service audited the Judicial Service and found out that the Chief Justice has done certain things that they flagged to be inappropriate in terms of financial spending and those kind of stuff. One has to do with traveling to the United States of America with a daughter instead of the security. And there is a reason for that. You are a Chief Justice. You are going for a private vacation. Yes, you may be in a private vacation or going for a private vacation, but you are still Chief Justice. If somebody takes you out there and force you, there are certain critical details about Ghana's national security that you know. So in order to avoid that, the law is such that when you are traveling, go with the security. So at the preliminaries, even if there is something, maybe the security can be able to do something before the eventual destination arrives. But this woman decided to place the security aside and go with the daughter and decided to pay per diem to your daughter. You see, you are the administrative head of the judiciary. You must discharge your duty with integrity, with honesty, and in order to also engender trust and public confidence. If you begin to do some of these things, then it means that you cannot be trusted to head the whole judiciary, because you sit at the pinnacle of judicial power in this country, discharging very sensitive and life-changing ruling. So if these basic things that has to do with ethics, if you cannot get it right, and instead of going by law that you are privy to and decided to place aside the security, and it wasn't for fun that it was stated that security should be added. I've told you, when the president travels today, he cannot decide to go alone, because he's president. If he's kidnapped today, there are certain things that people might force him to do, and that will go against you and I. So if the president is traveling, whether he likes it or not, security must accompany him. Same the Chief Justice. So if you decide to go and give the per diem that is supposed to be given to the security to your daughter, can you be trusted to head the judiciary? This didn't happen once. She traveled to another place, Tanzania, and she repeated the same thing. And it is not me who flagged it. The audit service flagged that particular thing as inappropriate.
Okay.
You understand? So these are some of the constitutional grounds.
All right. So moving forward, I listened to all the hullabaloo and everything, and I think somehow this is a part of our maturation as a people to this so-called democracy that we have ventured into. I don't think we understand that properly. I think that culturally and traditionally, there are certain things that are innate in us that are in conflict with this democracy that is being introduced. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand.
So people just still, like you're saying, old school.
Yes.
Cling on to those old cultural values.
Yes.
And they want to use that. But do you see what I'm talking about? There's a conflict between this imposition of this new democracy and new rule of law as against what we understand to be what is traditional and what is cultural.
Yeah, I understand. But I think from where I say, I think people are just refusing to accept reality. You see, some of the old guys, I still think some of them still think that we are living in the 12th century. That the average and ordinary Ghanaian is dumb. That people are gullible. You need to be a lawyer before you understand legal issues. You need to have gone to law school before you understand constitutional issues. I can sit here and tell you there are tons of people out there who have never been to law school, but they have deeper insight and understanding than so-called some of the lawyers. You understand? So you see, because now information is fast flowing. It's just a matter of updating yourself.
Yeah.
So I think these people must try their best to update themselves, so that they will be in sync with the prevailing both political, social, economic, cultural circumstances that is playing out. But they are not. So sometimes you sit down, you listen to some of the argument, and you find it very weird. When this Chief Justice issue came up, I listened to one professor who quickly came out and said, "Oh, she has been removed as a Chief Justice, but she has been removed as Chief Justice, but she can continue to do her job as a Justice of the Supreme Court." How can you convince even a class 1 student or a class 1 people to find reason and substance in this particular thing? This is somebody who has been flagged on the grounds of misbehavior, attitude. It means that if that attitude is not fit to discharge your responsibility as a Chief Justice, can the same person sit at the bench and dispense justice? Being Chief Justice and being a Supreme Court judge, which one is heavier? Is the Supreme Court judge, because you need to be a Supreme Court judge before you can become a Chief Justice. Chief Justice is just an administrative role, and it does not dwell much on even, how do you call it, attitude, that kind of way. But when it comes to sitting at the bench dispensing justice, your integrity should be unwavering, it should be ironclad. So if the person has been flagged on the grounds of attitude, that she is not fit for purpose, and you think that person can sit on the judicial. So some of this is just common sense alone, but you see, some of them feel so entrenched in their old stuff. Oh, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. So they are not ready to update the thinking to be in line with what is happening. And young people are very smart lately. Some of them have never been to law school, but they understand some of these things, because common sense is enough incentive to trigger you to understand some of these things. So for me, I think they must appreciate it, because there has been a radical political revolution in the mindset of average young people in this country. You see, in the past, if this thing were to happen in about 10 years ago, you see mass agitation, because the politician will be so easy to influence young people. Let's go on protest because Chief Justice has been removed. Go to social media. People don't care. They don't give a damn about whether Chief Justice has been removed.
It's interesting you said that, because I remember one Dennis Miracles about is that the name? He said he was shocked.
Yes.
That Ghanaians are not angry.
Yes.
He was expecting people to be protesting. And
yes.
He said he was actually taken to the extent where he thought whether people were going to have been bewitched by them. He said,
I don't know why, but I get a sense, as a and this former caster spell be good on my nose. Because you see, who didn't hear? I say, Chief Justice, I say, and I mean, my friend say a serious matter, because
before now, so who are man for him?
When I don't expect anger, I expect sadness. I expect person who are who be person who say I don't know. Obi, I am shocked. Why
do you think we are not angry? Explain it.
Yes, because you see, when on daily basis we were talking about the judiciary being dirty, when we were talking about judiciary being manipulated, appointments were based on partisan allegiances, affiliation, those kind of. They listened, they heard it. When the judiciary became dirty in this country, they saw it. When the judiciary was dispensing ruling deemed unreasonable, they saw it. So these young people want to see state institutions being robust once again, very effective. For any other individual, it's inconsequential. An individual, they don't care. They care about the larger judiciary, sanitizing it, so that once again confidence will return, so that once again our democracy will be emboldened. So if you are sitting somewhere and in the narrow-minded thinking that people will protest, because you can scan through the public space and you see the caliber of people who are talking. You understand? Yeah. People seem to be very comfortable, because you live in a country where every single post that is run points to the fact that the judiciary is dirty. because there were a number of research that I can cite, and there were a lot of tangible reasons that could be, assigned to some of these things. People were not worried. So I listened to Madam Sophia Akufu, and she was lamenting, blah blah.
I'm very sad about it. It has really saddened me. And maybe in a way, I feel very distressed by it. Yes. The sadness is about the whole process. My sadness is because as far as I'm concerned, it was a very unnecessary. We have been taken through a very unnecessary situation, and which, as far as I'm concerned, and that is my honest and candid view, this has so weakened the institution of the judiciary. And are these and these are not so, to me, they lack the gravity. They lack the gravity that would lead to a grave outcome, such as the removal of the head of an institution of justice. I've deliberately phrased myself that way. It trivializes the position.
And I was asking her, so this same person, was she happy when somebody who was a failed parliamentary candidate, Akufo-Addo appointed that person to the Supreme Court? Was she okay with that? She wasn't angry? Because it's not about qualification. It is about engendering public trust and confidence, because at that point, public trust in this institution was very low. And going ahead to appoint somebody who had contested on the ticket of a political party, it doesn't matter the kind of qualification that you have. You shoot down public confidence. At the time, was she okay with that? You understand? So some of this double standard and this heightened hypocrisy will not grant you audience so far as the young person is concerned, because they will listen to you yesterday. They listened to you yesterday. They are listening to you today. And again, the processes that she's saying, they are not fair. Did we write the constitution yesterday? Or they were brought from China yesterday? No. This constitution has been with us for a very long time, and people have gone through the mill. Charlotte Osei went through the same process. You understand? And several other people. The thing is that if you are saying that the process is not fair, which aspect of it is not fair? And one they quickly cite is the fact that the petition must be forwarded to Council of State to establish premier facie. The Constitution does not state explicitly what should go into that particular process. So as Chief Justice, during her time, she could have seen, said, no, this thing, carrying the thing to Council of State to establish what are the processes, what are the guidelines, so let us come up with a legislative instrument or some kind of a guideline that will help us walk through this fine line. You sat there and exerted power, another person has come, nobody saw the need to do some of these constitutional touching. Now that the thing has been applied in the past to remove other people, it got to your turn, you are sitting there telling people that it's not fair. I think they should get serious. You do some of these things, you diminish in terms of respect. The aura of respect that people are supposed to have for you, you lose it. Because it's not about who you are, it is about what you do. You understand? And that is what young people are looking out for. And again, the things that the Chief Justice in recent times have done since the activation of this whole process point to the fact that, for me, she has proven to be very incompetent. And I'm happy that she's gone today, because if you go to the Constitution, it says that this whole hearing must be held in camera. And I hope you understand what that means. This is a woman who files a writ in the court and request a request from the court that vary this constitutional provision. I want you to have this particular proceeding being shown on TV. What does that tell you? Because, that is an explicit constitutional provision that can never be varied by any court unless the constitution is reviewed to change it. You understand? Unless the constitution is reviewed to change that particular clause, no court on this land can say, oh, okay, because he's Chief Justice. And Justice Amadou Tanko, JSC, he gave the ruling. He stated clearly that they don't have the power to vary a constitutional provision. The best that can be done is to trigger a constitutional review. So for a whole Chief Justice who should know better, understand the law far better, is asking you that do my own on TV when others' own have been done in the past. And again, when she was denied, she carried the whole petition that is supposed to be held in camera to TV to do a press conference. When you do these things, you give credence to these allegations of misbehavior, incompetence, because you see, in terms of trouble, how you are able to conduct yourself, how you are able to compose yourself, that lends more detail to who you really are, not a comfortable day. So for me, I think President Mahama cannot be accused of having truncated or having jumped over any of the procedures. And I think none of the constitutional provisions.
I think it's quite interesting. Nobody has actually said that.
No.
That he had violated any constitutional provision. No, that has it is there to come out. Well, I'm waiting to hear, but nothing like that has come out.
The only thing you hear is the emotional hymn. The emotional hallelujah songs. Oh, this is not fair. Oh, this is this. But the actual details that individuals were affected in the petition, people don't pay attention to. You understand? Because there are petty issues that are very critical. For instance, there are these people who work at during the Kyei case. They said the Chief Justice ordered national security officers to storm into a court, an opening court, seize everything, bundle those individuals, and then took them to national security. They were interrogated, and then she dismissed them. Later, a committee was set up to inquire into what actually that happened. And then the committee exonerated these people, and you were asked to reinstate them, bring them back to their job. So I am the Chief Justice. Come on, I'm transferring you to Tamale. So you cannot do these things in this unreasonable fashion, because being the Chief Justice doesn't make the judiciary your bona fide property. You need to tread with caution, treat people with respect, and know that you are head of an institution. And for me, in the course of this process, she has demonstrated enough to prove a point that she's not fit for the job. Yes, I mean, what I recommend is that going forward, President should not have it easy to appoint whoever they want to sit at the Supreme Court as a Chief Justice. And I think those making noise, if people are reasonable, this is where they should channel their energy to. They should make sure that the president,
the process
must be very rigorous.
Yes.
So that person who come out of it will be very competent enough, so that we will not be thinking about protecting the office. Because if you are competent and you're operating within law, why should you worry about a remover? You understand? If there is a political witch hunt, we will see it, we will speak against it. You understand? But as long as you engage in constitutional infractions, you misconduct yourself, there is nothing that can save you. And I'm saying again, there is no position under any constitution anywhere in the world that enjoys absolute protection so far as tenure is concerned. The constitutional framework stated that we are human beings. At any point in time, we can go wayward, we can misbehave, we can do, emotions can come in. So they created a window. When such situation ever arises, use this window to get a person out of it. If President Mahama decides to misbehave from tomorrow going, Parliament has that. Yes, you can argue, say, considering the numbers, he cannot. But the constitutional frameworks have created. It's up to Parliament to decide. You understand? So we cannot build a conclave and put somebody there and treat a person like a demigod. You there, you are Chief Justice. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Let's move on, because the second thing is still to do with the Constitution.
Yes.
And now I think what is on the lips of many people is when the president decided that I'm not going for a third term. I thought the Constitution does not permit anyone to go for a third term anyway.
Yes.
So was it necessary for him to even say it, or should the people have just decided that, well, the Constitution does not, the Constitution prevents a third term, so there's no news here? Let me hear you.
I think there were a bit of cynicism running around because people weren't sure whether President Mahama was going to run. And looking at the absolute numbers that he has in Parliament, people were misinterpreting it to mean that he could trigger a process that will amend the Constitution to have him go again. But I from where I was sitting, that third term wasn't on the table. Because the Mahama I know, I didn't know how he was going to open his mouth and tell Ghanaians that I'm coming again. No, you can't do that.
Pacho, President Onya Tetema Obeko.
Oh, and you know, Omambini Mama. Minimum obey at least
20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, can be an ho dwa. Ayo no.
Okay.
MPP before abofo fe bi ridiculous lies. Sabi impediasa. Nyansa, sabi. Atro semo a sabi impediasa. Ento aso mo so nka ho. Wo se ntro bi wo ho a. Se one no mo sukwa be ka se no kre. Because se nipa na betumi aka no. But mo de mo di ntro a sabi impediasa. Ensa so nto aso mu. Ansa na wo betumi asesa constitution wo Ghana. Ebe nyina tetem no. I was here the boni for referendum you be a friend entrench clause. And no emra etintim agi hin pa wo betu afi wa wo hia 2/3 of Ghana for akoto aba ansa na o masesa. There's no way I betu aba Ghana ha party be 2/3 of the votes.
Okay.
Inti enya de besipo. So wo hwe Prez Mahama pa o so obi obetu akotetem aye bibi eti amra.
God, you see, there is this binding contract of trust and confidence that must always exist between a leader and his subject.
Yeah.
Ghanaians gave him, they renewed the mandate for him, knowing that he has just 4 years. Come take the stage, do the little you can, put the country on a certain pedestal so another person will come and continue. So in the mind of the president, I am not sure he ever even conceived or ever contemplated, ever said he will be contesting after the second term. But we live in an era where politics is very often can take different dynamics and a whole lot of stuff. So this whole Chief Justice process, when it started, some people linked it to the fact that Mahama is removing the Chief Justice in order to amend, in order to have his way.
His every gesture speaks to a sinister agenda to break the constitution and amend it and prolong his grip on power, abetted by Judiciary he is desperate to capture. In other words, the president is looking forward to using the Judiciary for a third term.
But the question is that, what has removal of the Chief Justice got to do with amending the constitution to have a third term? Because if we are going to amend the constitution, that will not come from the Chief Justice. That is something that will be done by the people of this country. Because if you go to Article 290 of our constitution, Article 60, which deals with the functions of the president, the tenure, everything, is one of the entrenched clauses. And I'm telling you, you need to go through a hell of a process to have that particular entrenched clause amended, to have him go for a third term. Almost impossible, because you need to have 40% of the electorate voting in a national referendum. When they do that, you need to have 75% yes rate. There is no way you can have that. You understand? So that was an option. And after that, I have seen some conversation in town. Some people have started arguing, when President Kufuor was exiting, he proposed a third term of 5 years. And that other people have also mentioned it. And that there is the need for us to look at that particular provision and change it so that whoever becomes president will have that luxury of going for third term, because 2 terms are not enough. And I'm saying that argument is very weak. You see, people always want to buy convenience wherever they will find it. You see, there is a pressing problem which we have decided to avoid. The problem is that as we sit here, we have not built institutions and framework that will sustain long-term development. We don't have them. But what we need isn't a third-term president. What we need are systems and institutions, certain constitutional framework that can guarantee long-term development. And these are some of the things, because if you set the machineries that grow economy in place, we don't care who is president. President can be alternative, but because you have the system.
That's very true.
Yes.
But that comes after when the country has built those structures.
Yes.
Like in the US, it doesn't matter whether it's Democrat or Republican.
Yes.
The structures are there to go in that direction.
Yes.
In a country like Ghana, where 4 years,
yes,
where presidents and structures are built in terms of 4-year durations,
yes,
will that work?
So if you assume that position, then it means that you are not ready to grow. Because we may have a luxury of time to discuss a third term. Why can't we have same luxury of time to discuss building framework and institution that will sustain long-term development? We have. So we are lazy-minded in our politics. And the reason is quite simple. We are always looking at a short-term political dividends that we can cash out of every undertaking. So if I become president, I want to do things that within 4 years, those things may come handy.
Yeah.
Nobody is projecting his mind into the next 20 years, the next 5 years, the next 20 years. What are some of the things that we need to do to ensure we grow the economy? So we don't have a long-term developmental plan. President Mills set up this national development, this thing. It's been a big elephant sitting somewhere because I don't know what they've implemented, what we have in the next 10 years. You see, so this is what we need to do as people. Let us spend time. Look at our weaknesses. Yes, there are, if you look at the Constitution, it says that when somebody starts something and he doesn't finish, another person should come and continue. But that is not what we are witnessing. So John Mahama built a hospital at Afari. I told you the last time he left power, it was left to rot for 8 good years. How do you call it? This housing project. Sagleme. You see? So we need to have a very binding principles and framework that will force people to do some of these things. So instead of wasting time to discuss third term, which for me has no relevance, we must spend time how to build this framework and structure to sustain good governance. You understand?
I understand it perfectly. How do you react? Because there are people out there, hey, you run the third term. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
No, what do you mean? We won't let you go.
Yes.
Yema President Mahama akwanya biu. Yema na akwanya biu. President Mahama tuaso. Yema President Mahama akwanya biu.
What's your advice on that?
I think it's a semblance of goodwill. And John Mahama has been in power for just 7-8 months. And I think if you look at the science, the economic science I mentioned the last time, it brings hope. Because in the last 8 years, we were in the ditch. Confidence wasn't there. We were even scared that we may lose our democracy. Because there was this cool news that was swelling all over, especially when you look at our neighboring countries and people were swapping constitution for this military junta stuff. There was this fear, but now people seem a bit comfortable. So when somebody warms your heart, you might not want the person to exit. But you see, this is politics, this is governance, this is democracy that we're doing. You cannot fall for those things. Yes, there are people who might want Mahama to run for 1,000 times. They will still vote for him. But you leave the stage when the applause is high. When you do that to buy convenience because you see you today, another person will come and turn it to four terms. Another person will come and take it to 8 terms. You will not have a cause to complain because you started it. You understand? Unfortunately for us, if you go to other countries, somebody can sit at parliament and massage the constitution and then give himself a lifeline. We saw it in Cote d'Ivoire. We saw it in most of the African countries, Togo and Co. Just parliament. But in Ghana, that power goes beyond parliament. It is with the people of this country. We need to line up in a reform of referendum to review that particular thing. So it is not an easy task. But I say, Mahama not doing it is not because maybe he may not win or not, but it has to respecting the trust and the confidence that people have reposed in you. You understand? And for me, that is very key. I keep telling people that wherever you see democratic institutions and you think that it's being protected by the security, you are a joke. That is not protected by the security. It is protected by you and I, our trust and confidence that we repose in the establishment. The very moment we begin to withdraw our trust, that government is done. That is why in Sri Lanka, when the people decided to withdraw their trust, they walked straight to the presidency, drove the president out. He even ran away before they got there. They were using his swimming pool because at that time, not the military, not the police, nobody can save you because the people, you've broken their trust. And they see you as some sort of an animal. So if you're president, you must always be smart enough to work within this balance in order to sustain that trust. Look at our Jubilee houses. Just imagine a president loses trust and people decide to walk to their place. Can you survive? How many military people can you put there to survive? So you must always walk within these fine lines and make sure you sustain that trust and confidence. Do the little that you can. And President Mahama doesn't need to be sitting at the Jubilee House to help whoever becomes president. As a former president, the depth of experience that he has, he can equally pass it to another person. You understand? When Obama was hesitating, people were saying, Obama don't go, because they saw him to be a fine gentleman who was very young at the time. But he didn't fall for those things. You understand? I think we must be guided by principle, value, integrity, and for me, that is what we are lacking in our politics. Yes, that's what we are lacking.
And because we are lacking in our politics very severely, how do you see this whole thing play out? You know, because I remember very, very carefully the attacks on him. He wants to do 3 years. That's why he's appointed judges, blah, blah. He wants to stay and do another term.
We are also aware that another group in the NDC are pushing for a third term for President Dramani Mahama. What we know is that there's a sinister and diabolical plot firmly underway to tighten the president's grip on power and prolong his days in office. So they knew that the firmness of the Chief Justice will not allow this. So they started to unleash the attack dogs on the Chief Justice to try and clear out of the way so that they will have their way.
And he says, I'm not going to do it.
Yes.
And the attacks have come.
Yes.
But why should you even say you won't do it? Because after all, you couldn't do it. The Constitution doesn't prevent you. So it's like you are damned if you do, you are damned if you don't.
Yes.
Because of where we are in terms of our development, in terms of trying to adjust to this whole democracy thing that has not really sunk in yet.
Yes.
Where is your take on this? Where do we sit?
Yeah, I think President Mahama should focus on building a legacy that will transcend beyond generation. And I think 4 years is enough for him to do that. Because you see, this is a gentleman who is picking the country from the gutters. All aspects. Social, cultural, economic, all aspects. Judiciary, everything. He's picking the country from the gutters in pieces, trying to piece it together to do something right. I think that he should focus on building framework, institutions, and laying a solid foundation. Mahama should be the foundation of the new Ghana that is about to take off. And he has that glorious opportunity to do that. Fortunately for him, he has been president before. So there is nothing like try and error. He's very fair-minded. You know what you're doing. He knows what will work and what will not work. This is no time to be experimenting. So I think he's a perfect person to lay the solid foundation for a good takeoff. And that is what he should focus on. So in the future, somebody will credit him for being the person who laid the foundation for the new Ghana. And for me, there are a lot of things that he could do. For instance, structural reformation, constitutional review. There are a whole lot that we need to do because if you look at our constitution, like we've been mentioning, you could see clearly that there are several portions of our constitution that have outlived their usefulness. They are not relevant anymore. For instance, the last time I was telling somebody, if you look at this, the age to be president, you can't be 40 to be president. If you go to Europe, they've proven that even 30 young people in their 30s can even be better president. There are several provisions that are very archaic. And again, we should also focus on building state institutions and making them very robust. And again, this overwhelming power that is given to the president, I'm against it. One person should not be given the luxury to be appointing over 10,000 people. Yeah. No. Okay, we may assume that the president is wise. So what happens in the unfortunate situation, you get somebody who is unwise and begin to act on a very unreasonable fashion. You've given all the powers to that person. So just imagine giving such excessive, overwhelming, overriding powers to quote unquote a fool. Can you imagine what that fool will use that particular power for? You understand? So I think we need to build checks. We need to build framework that will sustain the growth of the country, that will sustain our democracy, its institution, not individuals. Because individuals will come and go, but this institution will forever be there. So we should focus on building institutions, making them very effective. When Obama came here, he told us that Africa needs strong institution. Institution is not kwaku. Institution, having very strong foundation, having men who are very resilient, men with integrity, men who can vouch and stand as being the how do you call it, the gatekeepers of this institution. Because when they talk about the institution, they are not human beings. At the end of the day, there are human beings who are going to interface this institution, and these individuals must be credible, must have principle, must have value, so that you know things will not go wrong.
But how do we build those institutions considering this cultural and traditional things that are almost like a DNA lurking strongly inside us?
Yes.
You know, just a quick example, one time I was pulled over just last week by some police guys, you know. They just flagged my car to stop, so I pulled over. And then when they came in, they saw me, Kesem,
they'll be saluting you right now.
Yeah, go. I said, no.
You need to do the right thing.
Do the right thing. Yes. I said, so he told me that they were supposed to be checking the license and the roadworthy and everything, but it's me. So I should go. I said, no, check it.
Yes.
So I started advising them like I was having fun. I said, listen,
yes,
look, this is what is destroying Ghana. SKSM, so what? Yes. Check if I don't have the right things, then do what you have to do. Exactly. You know what he told me? I say, KSM, now I can see you cry, expect a cry, don't debate me.
So you see the culture?
Yeah, yes. This is the culture. This is innate in us. Yes. You know, the inspector will come and say, and one bottom pile, no one say KSM.
Yes.
How do we fix this? It's bigger than just talking about we want to change the mindset to.
Yes.
It is ingrained in us. This is our DNA.
Yes.
How?
I think we need cultural reorientation. We need to do that. And you see, unfortunately for us, we are not focused. You see, these things are not done in a day. Mm-hmm. These institutions of socialization must be very active now and come to play. But unfortunately, we are losing all these things. You go to schools, this morality, attitude, nobody give a damn about it. You understand? If you go to the various churches that are supposed to be the institution where morality is ingrained, this institution has become an avenue for magic and superstition. Even the moral fiber that they are supposed to insert by teaching people values, principle, they don't do that. It's about miracles. I'm conjuring magic for passport. It is only in Ghana that getting passport to travel to somebody's land is.
They ask you to bring your passport to church so that the pastor will anoint it.
Yes. Somebody will go and sleep at the prayer camp for 3 months, all because he want a visa to travel to UK.
That's us. That's so culturally ingrained in us.
Exactly.
So how do we,
So I think we need this cultural reorientation, and the state and other institutions must make it a duty just to ensure that we fix this thing. Because until we get these things fixed, we will never move anywhere. Because if you go to Europe, they've been able to refix themselves to the sense that even the mindset, because hardly would you see somebody drink pure water and drop the thing on the floor. Something need to, and if you do that, there are consequences. If we live in a state where everything comes free, there are no consequences. People are stealing millions, they are going scot-free. You are coming to penalize somebody who dropped pure water on the floor. You see how those things. So I think that as a country, this excessive politicization has robbed us of our dignity, our very essence as human beings. We behave sometimes, quote unquote, foolishly, even forgetting the fact that we are human beings. I think if we drop this politics sometimes and begin to see how we can build our social cultural integration as human beings, as one people with a common destiny, who have a responsibility to fix a better play for generation yet to come. I'm sure that will motivate us to do a better thing.
It will motivate us, but how do we even do it? You just said if we drop these politics, we can't drop this. It is so much a part of us.
Yes.
So petty, so partisan. So you have a great idea if we drop it, but we won't drop it.
So
what do we do?
No, we need everything that we do. We need to infuse in this bit of attitudinal reforms and this cultural orientation everywhere in our politics, everywhere we find ourselves. Because you see, now people have grown to see politics as some special line for wealth, towards wealth. Once you get in, let me just join the partisan or the political bandwagon. My chances of making free money is as high. So people don't come to the stage with intellect. People don't come in with the ingenuity, the mindset that is needed to stimulate growth. People come in with whole of diabolic mindset. People from cultural different background with whole of their orientation come with. So the state need to spell the rules of engagement. Wherever you are, you can come in. But these are the rules of engagement. There are consequences for every action. You see, we are where we are because we don't penalize. And for me, that is the starting point. In as much as I am calling for this cultural reformation, whatever, we must begin to penalize because human beings must have consequences. But even the God who created us has threatened us that if you don't go by his way, he's going to put you in fire. Yes. That is biblical. And even if you go to the Muslim land, I think there is also something like that. So even if God who created us has threatened us, if you don't go by his way, there is certain hellfire somewhere waiting for us. How much more human beings? Because in our natural, we are very dangerous people. Human beings must always have a reason not to do something. But if you open the floodgate, it was worse in the past. have you forgotten about the gathering and the hunting days? People could just go to the nearby village, kill the people, then take their food, because civilization was nowhere. It was survival of the fittest. But today, society has revolved. Laws have come in, and we become a bit civilized. And if you go to Europe, it's different. You can't even trespass on somebody's property. This is the stand we've gone to. You cannot even trespass, let alone entering somebody's house to demand anything. So these are human beings growing from one stage to another stage, but we have decided not to grow. We are growing in greed. We are growing in selfishness. I want to have it all. And that is the kind of growth we have assumed. And these things will not take us anywhere. It's the reason why people make it look like God created Europe before he created us. We've all been existing at the same time. But look at where they are, look at where we are. It's because of the mindset, the greed. Everybody want to have it all. And if you look at the political stage, it's the same thing. I think we need a renewed mindset. And these things that we do, people don't even see it as important. Have you received any support for doing what you do? Nobody, because some people sit somewhere and say you are making noise. But this is a very critical thing, educating people. And this is priceless, you understand? So as a state, are we doing some of these things just to ensure we free the mind?
No, I agree with you 100%.
Yes.
My problem is where is the starting point? Because, when we talk about all these things, we need the mindset, but if we actually don't have the laws that actually said are enforced, look at the whole fury when Shatawale got involved with the law that some cars were illegal, whatever the issue was, nobody cared.
Yes.
But how do you dare touch Shatawale? Yes. So have a whole gang out there resisting and protesting because parliamentarians do it.
Yes.
You can't arrest.
Yes.
This is what we live in. This is the reality of the Ghana we live in.
Yes.
So how are we going to fix that with just talking about mindset change unless the
action. We must start with action.
People don't do what you expect. They do what you inspect. And inspecting is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Consequences.
Yeah, there must be consequences, biting ones, very, 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 very hot ones, so that man will be scared. But unfortunately for us, our politics is not premised on some of these things. I mentioned the last time, if you go to other countries, they go to the extent of sentencing the president to prison. In Ghana, only poor people see the inside of a jail. You can use whatever means to steal. You use the same money to protect yourself. And that's exactly what is happening. So I think that is why I said President Mahama has a very huge responsibility to leave an indelible mark that will transcend beyond generation. And that is ensuring that some of these things are done. Because these are basic. If we don't get these things right, there is absolutely nothing that we can build on that will survive. It will be like washing your feet while wearing the socks. It's a waste of time. You understand? So I think we need to relax and make sure that there are consequences. We make sure people do the right thing. If you go to government sector, there are people who go in the morning, they just sign and they go home. They don't even come back. Nobody's monitoring anybody. This Rich Hospital issue, wasn't that Raf went there and something happened? Look at the number of issues that has come up since this whole thing happened. The number of people who are... So it means that the institution is very weak. The institutions are ineffective. And you don't wait for something to happen before. It should be an ongoing process that is revolving, checking. Per the report, I'm told about 35 nurses have left. They've vacated posts.
We also found out that, for example, out of 88 nursing staff who routinely work at the emergency department every month, only 54 are currently on duty at posts, with about 34 of them already vacated posts for various reasons. This has brought extreme shortage in the number of nursing staff who also support the emergency medical doctors.
It is the report that brought these things to bear. But before that, they didn't know that something of that sort was happening. And you know that similar thing may be happening in other institutions. So are we effective? You see, our approach has always been knee-jerking.
In the interest of time, you're saying that what the Mahama should concentrate on now is to lay the foundation.
Yes.
And it should be strong enough for others to come and build on.
Yes.
That's your...
Because how we are, there is no room for weakness. No. He has to be very frontal, very radical, but very pragmatic. And make sure you hold the bull by the horn. This is no time to be doing no. Me, I keep telling people if I'm a president and somebody does something wrong and they will achieve a pastor, if you walk to my house to beg, I'll make sure you'll be thrown to prison.
And on that note, folks, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to have more conversations. This is all the mindset thing we are talking about. This is all about the mindset change that we need, that we are very, very far away from. Yeah, man, crowd, like I said, we are now close. So now let's start. We haven't even come close. There's so much to be done, and you are tasking Jim that his duty right now, with the time that he has, is to build this foundation, or at least set the structures, and then
and he's lucky enough to have absolute and some tacit support from Ghanaians.
Okay,
people still have that hope in him. People see Mahama as somebody who can bring this revival. So I think he should seize that particular opportunity and lay a solid foundation. That foundation will be the foundation upon which the new Ghana will be built on. And I'm sure he can do it. He is very experienced enough. He has been there before. And if he's willing to do, he can. He should be very frontal, very radical, very pragmatic. And ensure that he puts his vision across.
Abba says if you are willing, you can. So let's see your will. Abba, thank you so much, man. We'll engage again.
Sure.
But like you, Charlie, I've not come to Cactus Creek before.
Oh, I'll come there.
One of the few friends I have who have not come.